I call the meeting to order. This is the February 25th, 2025 regular meeting of the Irvine City Council. The time is 4:03 p.m. At this time, I'd like to turn to our city clerk, Carl Peterson, to please call the roll.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Carroll is absent. Councilmember Go.
Here.
Councilmember Liu.
Here.
Councilmember Treceder.
Here.
Vice Mayor Mai.
Here.
And Mayor Agron.
Here. At this time, we'll be moving into closed session. I'll try to announce where we are in the agenda as we go through it this afternoon and evening. We've set aside a period from 4 to 5 p.m. for the closed session. And I think it's appropriate at this time, those who want to comment on our closed session and the ones who want to comment via Zoom should raise their hand electronically and be put in the queue for public comment. But at this time, I want to turn to our city attorney to specifically announce the items under consideration in closed session, and then we'll take public comments.
Thank you, Mayor. We have two items on for closed session consideration this afternoon. The first is a conference with real property negotiators under Government Code Section 54956.8. The property at issue there is assessor's parcel numbers 529-28204 and 529-38108. The agency negotiators are Oliver Chi, the city manager, Pete Carmichael, the assistant city manager, Luis Estevez, the acting director of public works and sustainability, and Jeffrey Melching, the city attorney. The negotiating parties are the city of Irvine and the Orange County Transportation Authority, and under negotiation there are the price and terms of payment. The second item on for closed session consideration is a conference with legal counsel concerning an existing litigation. That's pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1. And the case there is Orange County Advocates for Transparency versus City of Irvine et al. Orange County Superior Court case number 30-2024-0143773. And that's all.
Thank you. At this time, I'll turn to our city clerk and ask if there are any requests for public comments.
There are no requests to speak, Mayor.
No requests? There being no requests, at this time we'll convene in closed session, and we will be back at 5 p.m. sharp. Thank you. Would the meeting please come to order? Once again, we're reconvened now, having been in closed session. It's 5:04, and at this time I'm going to turn to our city attorney to report on our closed session.
Thank you, Mayor. There was no reportable action this afternoon.
Thank you. That allows us then to proceed to the regular agenda for tonight. And I'm going to try to keep us not only on track here, but also try to explain as we move from one part of the agenda to the other what we're doing. So at this time, we typically have the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight, I would like to ask Council Member Treceder to lead us in the pledge at the appropriate time, which is now. we want to invite those who are able to please stand for the pledge. Remain standing after the pledge is over as well, if you would.
Please place your hand on your hearts and begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. At this time, we're going to have what's known as the invocation. The invocation, at times in the city's history, has been traditional prayers offered by religious leaders in the community. And at other times in our city's history, the invocation has had a broader idea, which is to include uplifting presentations of all kinds, including musical presentations, which sometimes are prayers in and of themselves. So at this time, I would like to welcome Kyle Young, who is a 17-year-old Irvine resident and the Music Center's 36th annual Spotlight program, Classical Instrumental Grand Prize finalist. So he comes to us with extraordinary credentials. Kyle began his music study at age 4 and has won numerous competitions in piano, violin, and composition. As part of tonight's invocation, he will perform the national anthem. First, we'll remain standing for that, and then that will be followed by Amazing Grace. Kyle, welcome. Terrific. Wonderful. Please be seated at this time, and we'll hear now Amazing Grace. Kyle, why don't you just stay where you are? I just wanted to say a word or two here. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to come down and I'm going to ask my colleagues to join. We're going to take a nice picture of you and invite your dad to be part of it as well. But if you actually think about the lyrics of both of those songs, our national anthem is a prayer for the nation at a time of war, the War of 1812. And Amazing Grace, of course, originated with, I think his name was John Newton, who was the slave ship captain who was part of the slave trade in the 1750s, and I believe he reflected on what he was doing and ultimately wrote the words to Amazing Grace. I think they were first published in the 1770s. And it's a prayer, too, for redemption. And I think it's especially appropriate that you chose to play that this evening because we celebrate Black History Month in February, and as we come to the close of the month, you know, it's important that we remember the Black history that began with a god-awful slave trade and lasted almost 250 years. So mindful of all of that, that you bring this beautiful musical presentations to us tonight, we feel blessed. So thank you so much. Let's take a picture, okay? Thank you once again, and again, on behalf of all of us, appreciate that uplifting performance. With that, we now move on to presentations. Tonight, we have a Love Irvine presentation, and I think Curtis would come on forward. Now, I want to make sure I pronounce your last name right. It's Drever, right? Drever. That's what I said, and somebody corrected me earlier and said, no, it's Drever. I said, okay, I'll go with it. Thank you for correcting me. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. I have 5 minutes, right?
Take,
This says 3.
don't worry, just
Oh,
take,
okay.
take your time. The work you do is worth the extra presentation time, please.
Well, thank you. Thank you. So, Curtis Drever with Love Irvine, and thank you, City Council. I appreciate this opportunity to speak and give just an upbeat report about what we're trying to do in the city. And I'll start out with just thank you as well for last year when you passed the city partnership with Love Irvine, which did 2 things. It was March of 2024. So it was 2 things. It passed a citywide day of service, an official day of service, and officially designated Love Irvine as the city's partner in organizing and running that event. So thank you for that. And actually, that's a good segue for me. The most recent one, our 4th annual, was this last November 2nd at Heritage Park. And then Vice Mayor Agron was there. And we had 130 people at kickoff at Heritage Park. And I want to thank Ryan Painter and Steve Nomiller, the community services team. They did such an excellent job just hosting us and just really making for a great event of using that venue for a kickoff event. The Irvine Company sponsored breakfast burritos that day, and so participation grew about 20% from the previous year. So we had 28 projects, 654 volunteers serving all over the city. It was great. I mean, I loved it, hopefully, and we just blessed the city. We had some notables that stood out for service projects. One was with the Community Services Department again, and Orange County Fire Authority, and the Orange County Soccer Club all participated in a food drive in partnership with South County Outreach for the month before that, leading up to the event. Then they organized the food on the day of, and they said they collected a lot of food. I didn't get the exact number, but they were quite happy with that. Families Forward opened up their pantry to volunteers. We had volunteers harvesting crops at Second Harvest, sorting clothes at Working Wardrobes. Another group of volunteers assembled and packed 20,304 meals to feed hungry kids. And we had another group of volunteers that made hundreds of caring cards, they're called caring cards, to encourage people who are battling cancer. Those are just some of the project highlights from that day. This year, it's Saturday, November 8th, which will be our 5th, and it's already on the city calendar. And Irvine Company has reserved the Woodbridge Village Center. I've seen the Irvine Company, they're really getting on board with catching the vision of what we're trying to do in the city. So they've already reserved Woodbridge Center for us, which is such a picturesque place. So that's the kickoff event. That's where the kickoff event is going to be next year, actually this year. And really my vision is that Irvine's got over 313,000 people now, and I see this growing into thousands of people serving our city, if not for just a few hours on this particular day. Hopefully that will lead to more and more giving back into our city. So what is the greatest need of Irvine? Pause. We feel the greatest need of Irvine is belonging, community, belonging to community. And that's why we do a lot of what we do. So our vision really is everyone in community, and we really are, we unite people to make a positive impact in Irvine by creating purposeful events and citywide serve initiatives. So a lot of what we do is about building community, serving our city. We partner with churches, businesses, city leadership, and other nonprofits to help resolve the city's spiritual, practical, and relational challenges. And this, which leads to the things we do are strategic in nature. We do a community. Last year we did a community appreciation dinner. We invited the community. We had about 50 people show up just to have food, share, and get to know each other. We hosted National Day of Prayer in May. Just pray for city leadership, which we do weekly or monthly. We had a nonprofit mixer in June. We invited all the city nonprofits that I could find. We had about 30 show up just to share and get to know each other and how we can combine resources. We participated in city events, CECLA Irvine, National Night Out, and Global Village. And we also host pastor gatherings twice a year where we have about 20 to 25 church leaders now meeting regularly to get to know each other. And also, at some point, we want to do more partnering with the city just to serve our city with no strings attached. So that's where that piece is heading as well. There are more ideas, but not enough time for tonight. I've been using up my time. But I do want to extend an invitation to City Council. I look forward to meeting some of you because City Council is now expanded this year, and I haven't met all of you. So over the next few weeks, I look forward to that. And if there's something I can help you with, just let me know. Or if there's someone you think I should meet in the city, let me know. I love building relationships and partnering with people. And with that, I'm going to have my lovely wife come up and take a picture with, you can just smile or wave in the background, and I'm just going to, so you can, my marketing manager said I need to take more social media pictures, so.
We can help you in that regard, and your wife can be in a picture with you too.
So that's, if you got a couple pictures, we're good. Okay, thank you so much for your time.
Well, you just stay right where you are. First of all, I want to thank you so much for all that you do. Real community service and community building activities. And you're absolutely right. Each of these events that you do, the more people that you involve, it's right in front of our eyes, community building. And when is your next big event?
Well, let's see. The big event is November. That's our citywide day of service. And we just did one actually a few weeks ago at Woodbridge Center, and a couple of the council members showed up to make welcome back cards. We made a couple hundred of them for IMAC, the Irvine 211 Marine Adoption Committee. We made, volunteers made 200 of them for welcoming back the Marines that are coming back from deployment. So it was really fun. Sessions Deli, I'll give them a pitch. They hosted a fundraiser for us, but it wasn't just about us. It was really about the people and serving. So that was our, we hope to do more of those types of events, which are smaller and just more intimate and giving back to our community.
Well, please keep us advised, informed. You do have a partner with the entire city council, and we want to be good partners and very much involved in all the good works that you do. At this time, I'd like to turn to my colleagues if they have any questions or comments. By the way, if people at home want to participate by way of public comment, those who are participating via Zoom, this would be the time to raise their hand and participate electronically. We'll call on others who might be here as well. Any comments at this time? Council Member, Vice Mayor James Mai.
Yes, hi, Curtis. Nice to see you again. You recently sent me an email saying, you asked me if I remembered you from a couple years ago. We were introduced. And of course, I remembered you. And I remember thinking that this is a person that loves and cares about the community, and we're lucky to have him at the time. And I feel that we're very lucky to have you and the organization now as well. So thank you for all you do. We're in full support of whatever you do, and look forward to meeting with you in the next couple weeks as well.
Thank you.
And Councilmember Liu.
Thank you. Yes, hi. I'm so glad you're here today to talk about the great things we did. I want to share that we were out there, Councilmember Go and I were out there making welcome home cards for the 211 Marines, and we also participated in the fundraiser sessions and enjoyed some delicious food while we are also contributing to the fundraiser, so I'm glad to do all of that. Please keep us in the loop. We're always here to help, and I look forward to talking to you in a couple days.
Thank you.
Any others? There being none, let's turn to whether there are public comments.
Thank you, Mayor. We do have one request to speak from Eric Nishanian. Mr. Nishanian, you may unmute your mic. Mr. Nishanian, can you hear us? And that is all, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for everything you do. Let's keep working together. If my colleagues will indulge us, I think maybe one more time we'll step down to take a picture here, group picture, and and then we'll all be famous. Okay? Here we go. Having completed our presentation portion of our agenda, at this time we'll move on to public comments with respect to non-agendized items. This is a brief period of time that we allow at the front end of our council meetings for people who wish to comment briefly on items not on the agenda, not on the published agenda, but nevertheless within our subject matter jurisdiction. At this time, those who wish to offer public comments by way of Zoom should again raise their hand electronically and enter the speaker queue. And any member of the public may address the City Council on items within our council's subject matter jurisdiction, but that are not listed on the council agenda. We cannot take action on those matters that are not part of the posted agenda, but we certainly can actively listen to people who have something to say. We'll be allowing tonight, I think we'll try with 20 minutes for non-agendized public comments initially at the start of our meeting, and after 20 minutes we'll be ending the initial non-agendized public comment portion of our meeting, and then we'll take up items that are listed on our council meeting agenda. For those who may have signed up for non-agendized items to speak about them, but were unable to speak within the initial 20-minute period, we'll be providing an additional opportunity to speak following all of our business items on the agenda. That way we can move right on to the business items that are on the listed agenda. Mr. City Clerk, do we have requests to be heard under public comments for non-agendized items tonight?
Thank you, Mayor. We have 8 requests to speak.
8 requests. We may be able to do this then within 20 minutes. Those 8 would be allowed 3 minutes each. That would take us to 24 minutes if everybody takes the full time. There'll be no additional requests accommodated at this time, all right? With that, let's get started.
Thank you, Mayor. If I could call the first 5 speakers forward: Doug Elliott, Adam Talibas, Wing Chow, Alan Meyerson, and Jack. And we'll start with Doug Elliott.
Welcome, Mr. Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening to all of you. I am Doug Elliott, a Community Services Commissioner, speaking only for myself. I was very happy last week to see that the State of the City address will return to City Hall on March 11th. City Hall, I think, is where it belongs, and I want to give credit where credit is due. Mayor, I confirmed with your staff that this is being done at your behest, and that you share my belief that this important municipal occasion ought to occur at the seat of our municipal government. So thank you very much for that. In the past few years, the State of the City has been presented at the Irvine Barclay Theater as part of what has seemed to me more of an entertainment spectacle. I never miss an opportunity to express my support for the Barclay as a wonderful community asset. But it should be obvious that producing an event there costs money. And in fact, the costs of those events were borne by corporate sponsorships totaling about $30,000 in 2022 alone. I believe that's inappropriate. We shouldn't have official government events such as the State of the City sponsored by private interests. I think it sends a terrible message. So hopefully we're done with that. And I may have a few more words about corporate sponsorships later, time permitting, but for now, I also just wanted to add my thanks for the expanded definition of invocation. I have really enjoyed tonight's performance and the last few we've had at council meetings, so thank you for that too.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members. I am Adam Thiabas. I am the District Director for Supervisor Katrina Foley, who very proudly represents the City of Irvine as the Vice Chair of the Orange County Board of Supervisors. So today, Vice Chair Foley's proposed nitrous oxide ban ordinance went into effect following a unanimous vote of the board. This ordinance was created to address the alarming rise in the sale and recreational abuse of nitrous oxide, also known as NOx, laughing gas, whippets, or galaxy gas. While the state of California currently prohibits the sale of nitrous oxide for recreational purposes, there is a don't ask, don't tell loophole. That means that if an individual does not affirmatively state that they intend to use the product for recreational purposes, then a smoke shop, for example, can sell the product. This ordinance closes that loophole in the county unincorporated areas where the county holds governing jurisdiction. I have brought copies of the ordinance, and it looks like they've been distributed to the council for your awareness. This is a serious health hazard to our community, and we need to protect our neighborhoods from this dangerous inhalant. Additionally, the Board of Supervisors voted to remove the investment authority of the Orange County Treasurer Tax Collector today following thorough review of incidents of mismanagement, performance audits, workplace investigations, and complaints by the Auditor Controller and the County Chief Executive Officer. It became clear that the board had to take action to protect our finances, county employees, and taxpayer dollars. Vice Chair Foley is committed to transparency in protecting our Orange County community from corruption and mismanagement. Finally, on a much lighter note, I want to invite the Irvine community, including you all, to a few upcoming events. Next Saturday, March 8th, our office is hosting, in collaboration with the Veterans of Foreign Wars, the Orange County Black Chamber, among many other amazing partners, a Women Veterans Mental Health Symposium. The event will take place at Orange Coast College's College Center building from 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. on the 8th. You can RSVP. There is a QR code on the screen up there that takes you to the form, or there is a link, bit.ly/womenveteransoc. There will be breakfast and lunch provided. Next, on March 29th, our office will be celebrating women educators who inspire for Vice Chair Foley's 4th annual Women Making a Difference Awards and Brunch. This event will take place here in Irvine at Strawberry Farms Golf Club from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. The entire community is cordially invited, and you can submit nominations to be honored at this event at bit.ly/42BLDM9. I know that's a lot, so you can find all of that information on the supervisor's social media. Vice Chair Foley looks forward to continued partnership with the City of Irvine to best serve our residents and community.
Just finish up that last sentence.
Okay, yeah, so we're here to partner, here to serve.
Thank you very much, and thanks to Supervisor Foley for her outstanding service to this community and the larger Orange County community.
Wing Chow.
Welcome, Mr. Chow.
Good evening, honorable council members, ladies and gentlemen, Irvine residents. Last time I mentioned that there was a phenomenon in the space that 6 planets aligned together. I didn't get a mention about Mike Carroll. He's the Mars, he's the red hot planet. He discovered the beautiful flip of spending $20 million to acquire 2 properties at Mervyn Road for the homeless. So he's red hot. This month, February, there's another star that joined the alignment of the other 6 planets, which is Mercury. Mercury spells M-E-R-C-U-R-Y. If you put U-R in the front, it will be you are mercy. The new council member will be merciful to all of us. I look forward to have the election on April 15 to select the District 5 council member. For any success story, it all starts with a vision for a country, for a city, for a family. In the Bible, it said, without a vision, people will perish. Without a vision, or people will get loose. Without a vision, we cannot survive here. We have a vision. Our vision is to make Irvine a safe and prosperous city. In order to do that, it's not a pie in the sky. For all the people who live on this earth today, only 5% are successful. This 5%, they have a definite goal and specific steps to reach that goal. We want Irvine to be a safe and prosperous city, not just a goal, but a step. First, we should have a strong police force to safeguard the safety of the street. This morning when I woke up, I read that right now we have called porch pirate in Irvine, come to steal people's parcel in front of their doorstep. We should have police patrol to stop this from happening. Second, we should have an online scam, fighting scam, anti-scam cyber team to fight against scam. They took a lot of money from our senior. And we want to make a prosperous city by attracting new business, not only for them to come here, to have them to stay, to control the rent so they can survive. Also, I want to mention that now the people have spoken, the chosen all this council member, we should accept and appreciate them instead of attacking them. Instead of being belligerent, you should believe in them, compliment them. Say something constructive instead of destructive. Do you know for those who live in Irvine, the home prices of Irvine have risen 80% in the last 4 years. So they are doing a good job. You own a house for $1 million, you have 1.8 million now. We should give them a big hand for doing a great job.
Thank you for your comment. Your time is up.
Thank you for your comments.
Alan Meyerson.
Welcome, Mr. Meyerson.
Good evening, council members. Alan Meyerson. Tonight, I just wanted to speak briefly about bipartisanship. And I hope I can say something that will inspire you to look inward about bipartisanship. And what inspires me to speak about this is because I heard at a DGI meeting a couple of Democrats say that they would not work with Republicans. And at first, and there was an applause for that, which I found astounding to me. And then I started thinking, what if you're on a city council with 4 Republicans and 3 Democrats and you're in the minority? So if you're not willing to work with Republicans, how do you propose to get anything done if you're not going to work with them? At this level of government especially, and in today's world, I find that comment to be almost a MAGA Republican comment to say something like that. So I don't want to be nasty, and I don't want to discourage or say anything negative. I just want to say something that will hopefully help you look inward as to you saying those things. Now, if you were just saying them as a Democrat for the Democrats and they didn't really mean anything, that's one thing. But if you truly believe that you're not going to work with Republicans, I just don't understand how you propose to get anything done if you're not willing to do that. So please, if you really believe that, rethink your thoughts on bipartisanship and be bipartisan and do what you can to help this city accomplish good things for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Jack the Biker.
Welcome.
Mr. Egger and Council, there is a reason I'm calling myself Jack the Biker, because I bike a couple of times a week. There is a imminent danger, and I want to give you a heads up because of the state of some of the bike trails. I got a very self-congratulatory magazine a few days ago how fantastic the bike trails are in Irvine, and they are a lot better than in most cities in the United States, but I'm from the Netherlands, and they don't meet that standard with any distance. I'm specifically talking about the decrepit state of the Shady Canyon Trail. I invite you, especially Mr. Agron, to ride that trail downside and try not to break your neck. It's very dangerous, and there are other ones that are in bad shape and state. And I'd like to ask the City Council to focus on local matters and not on, let's call them international delusions or hallucinations. Focus on your job here. The second part of my statement about biking is what we all have encountered are these crazy young people, especially at the age of middle school, when it goes out, they almost kill you over, and sometimes they actually do. There are no license plates, that you can't identify them. I've literally seen near accidents with handicapped people, and I don't quite understand why the city doesn't enforce its own regulations for these very dangerous, very fast vehicles that go on the pedestrian pathways. I'm pretty sure that if you would do a referendum, no, not a referendum, a poll, you would find that the vast majority would be for much stricter enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Let me just say, this e-bikes matter will be coming back to this council very soon, so stay tuned on that. We recognize not only the concern, but the dangers. With respect to a particular trail area that is dangerous or not properly maintained or whatever, we have city staff here tonight, and I would ask them to maybe take a moment with you and set up a time to explore that immediate issue more quickly, okay?
Appreciate
So if somebody would be in touch. Thank you for your comments.
Our next speaker is Eric Nishanian. Mr. Nishanian, you may unmute your mic.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Yeah, I wish you would have come back to me, and I didn't have to use my time up now for Curtis Drever and non-agendized items, but council members, Mayor Agron, I know that Mr. Drever is a religious man, a Christian pastor, and thus a leader, but I'm not sure if he's a ignorant clown or an evil charlatan. His Love Irvine has partnered with the city's partnered with Turkish national genocide deniers. He said nothing about that. Love Irvine has partnered with the city allows Turkish national genocide deniers to wave Kemal Ataturk at city-sponsored events. Ataturk is a organizer of the genocide of Armenians, Christians, Pontians, Christians, Assyrians, Christians, Greeks, Christians. Mr. Drever hasn't said anything about that. Farrakhan got called out for enabling those same Turkish national genocide deniers here in City Hall on more than one occasion. Curtis Drever didn't say anything about that. But if you Google YouTube, you can see his social media where he interviewed Mayor Farrakhan on July 19th, 2023, and didn't ask her anything about how she marginalized the local Armenian community. So I'm not sure how Love Irvine and this pastor who has social gatherings with other pastors in the city twice a year, none of whom have made any mention of what Farrakhan did. I don't understand how he's fostering belonging in the city and creating community. What he's doing is he's normalizing racists and racism, and he should be ashamed of himself. Now, going to the agenda item with regard to the party for the 4th of July, that looks like a free pay for the police and first responders.
Excuse me, Mr. Nishanian, this is for non-agendized items. 4th of July is an agendized item.
Mr. Nishanian, you may unmute
May I
your mic
speak?
again.
I'm allowed to use my non-agendized items to talk to agendized items. I don't have to wait here till 11 o'clock. There's nothing that forbids that. But if you want me to wait till 11 o'clock and blast that, I will. So let me have my time back.
I think that's what you ought to do. You ought to wait until that item comes up.
Okay, so I want to make sure that everybody understands that the city has now agreed to post the election notices in Farsi, like Laguna Niguel does, even though Irvine has a larger population than Laguna Niguel, and that they had to be prompted to do it. They didn't do it on their own accord when there are more Farsi-speaking residents in District 5 than Vietnamese-speaking residents in District 5, but they posted the election notice in Vietnamese. Are there any reports about law enforcement in the city of Irvine this month? I know the district attorney was here 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago regarding the Tammy Kim incident. Anything else to report about who's been in the city hall lately? Anything? Yeah. You know, when religious leaders don't speak up, people like Larry Agron endorse racists, like Farrakhan. When the religious leaders don't speak up, other communities get marginalized. Because you know what? People think it's okay to discriminate against people. You all should be ashamed of yourselves. You didn't condemn her. You didn't censor Farrakhan. And now
Thank
you
you
have
for your
religious leaders
comment. Your
running
time is
around.
up.
Thank you, Mr. Nishani, and for sharing your views with us tonight. Do we have any others?
Yes, we do. Our next speaker is Michelle Johnson.
How many more do we have?
We have 2 more that originally signed up and then 1 that popped into the queue late.
All right, let's finish them all now, if we could.
Thank you, Mayor. Michelle, you may unmute your mic.
Thank you. Mayor Agron and council members, Michelle Johnson, District 1 resident of Irvine. This morning, the Orange County Board of Supervisors unanimously approved the 4-year lease of the Katie Wheeler Library to the city of Irvine. So I just want to again thank Mayor Agron for his leadership on this issue, and especially Chris Slama, who did the negotiations with the county. So we'll have 4 years beginning in January 2026. Next, I'd like to request that the city or at these meetings periodically update the residents on issues that are of high interest to the residents. And I'll just use a couple examples. One is on OCPA. In December, the council voted to opt down all the residents to the basic choice, and that was supposed to happen by February 1st. I just want to know, has this been completed? What's the status of it? The city also purchased a building for $100 million last year for a city gym that was a much discussed item. And I'm just curious, what is the progress on that building? Where is it in the process? I think it's helpful to have these kind of periodic updates on various items. They don't have to be large presentations, but I think it's very helpful to the residents when we don't hear about things for months to get some sort of update. And finally, I did submit, I just want you guys to be aware, I submitted a PRA for a letter that I thought was a simple PRA request, that the city submitted a letter regarding the proposed natural gas plant at the Bowerman landfill. I've now waited 30 days and I just got a notice I'm going to have to wait another 30 days just to get this letter. So I don't know what the holdup is on this or why it's happening. I just wanted to let you know that that's what's happening to me, and it might be happening to other residents. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, your suggestions. I think the city manager was listening very carefully, and I think he'll be responsive to some of those expressed concerns going forward. With that, we turn to the next.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jason Garshfield. Jason, you may unmute your mic.
Hey, you guys can hear me?
We can hear you.
Perfect. So I just wanted to call in and express my concerns about Zoom comments. I think they've really gone too far. You know, this was a pandemic era thing. It's been 5 years. It's time to end it. And if you look at the quality of the Zoom comments, I think I've been to a couple years worth of these meetings now, and I think if you look at the quality, you see a pretty stark difference between in-person comments where people are forced to look into the eyes of the council members and Zoom comments, because when people have what they feel to be a shield of anonymity, they start saying all sorts of random stuff about clowns and charlatans, and then everyone just has to hear their voice booming down from on high like the voice of the Almighty. So if someone wants to talk, they should go speak in person. Now, another thing I'd like to speak about, Mr. Mayor, at the last meeting, I asked you a question directly. You have the right to respond to public comments. You have done so, including tonight. I'm going to read a quote. If you regard speech as not just offensive, but bad or very bad, vile, then you have the opportunity, certainly we do at the dais here, to push back on that with good speech. This statement was one of Larry Agrin's, and it was made on October 14th, 2024. So, Mr. Mayor, I will ask you, when people call Hamas a resistance organization, do you find that offensive, bad, or vile? When an IDF soldier comes in here and gets called a baby killer, do you find that offensive, bad, or vile? When people call Israel a refuge for pedophiles and sex traffickers and organ harvesters, do you find that offensive, bad, or vile? When somebody lists out every Jewish member of the Biden administration and says, what do these people have in common? Do you find that offensive, bad, or vile? Because all of those comments have been made at Irvine City Council meetings. This has been a year. You have not issued any denunciation of it. And for that matter, I would like to ask about Farrakhan's comments regarding the Armenian genocide. Do you find any of those offensive, bad, or vile? I look forward to hearing your answer.
Thank you for your comments tonight.
Our next speaker is telephone number 360. 360, you may unmute your mic. You have 90 seconds. Can you hear us?
Yep, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, just one final time, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Excellent. Yeah, the only thing I wanted to comment on was, and it's kind of silly, but I think nevertheless important, is a few of us, traditionally Saturday morning we'll sit at a Starbucks, and we notice how many license plates, front license plates are missing in Irvine, which caused one of us to quip, oh, Irvine doesn't enforce front license plates. And we did kind of a little anecdotal study where we found 66% of Teslas do not have, out of 100, we just sat there anecdotally, out of 100 don't have front license plates. And, as someone who's owned in the past Mercedes and BMWs and Infinitis, I always made sure I had a front license plate. And it doesn't seem that Irvine police, are treating that as a California state law. And I'd like the city, the police department or enforcement to send out just a press release. We're not out here to screw anybody, but just send a press release out that, you'll be looking at that and that should be enforced. And another thing is all these languages, when Europeans came to America, whether you be Italian, in my case, Irish, they told us to flush the Gaelic down the toilet. And everybody has to learn English. We're all Americans. We're all here together. We're a melting pot. And for people to go and publish things in Italian, Gaelic, Farsi, German, it just doesn't make sense. We're all one brotherhood
Thank
here.
you again for your comment.
And all it does
Your
is
time is
divide
up.
us.
Sir,
So thank you very much.
Thank you. Your time is up. The police chief was listening attentively to your comments, and if you haven't already left your information with us, make sure to do so, and I'm sure the chief will be back in touch with you regarding the license plate matter.
And that is all the speakers, Mayor.
Thank you. We appreciate people abiding by the time rules and otherwise making, in the main, very constructive comments tonight. Thank you very much. With that, we move on now to the city manager's report. Mr. City Manager, do you have a report for us this evening?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No report this evening.
But you will in the future.
We will look forward to providing updates as we heard some of the public mention this evening.
I think that would be a very good idea. Thank you. At this time, we turn to announcements, committee reports, council reports. This is an opportunity for council members to make brief reports, typically 3 minutes or less, or announcements regarding matters that they have been addressing in their official capacity. Are there requests to be heard tonight? I see 2 listings here. Councilmember Liu.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few announcements to make. The first one is that our office gave the $500 in community partnership grant to the Small Business Diversity Network, which is a organization that supports underserved small businesses nationwide. And the second thing is we hosted a, hosted a ice cream fundraiser with Handel's Ice Cream, which we were able to bring in $1,000 for Northwood High School's grad night committee to help them with fundraising, and also helped with students who are on reduced lunch. And the next thing is we were supporting local sports, that we attended the the Northwood Little League and Irvine girls softball season opening ceremonies both days, and we were able to throw the first pitch along with Mayor. And lastly, I just got back from a trip in Sacramento where I joined the 4th District PTA group for an advocacy trip to advocate for teachers, families, and students for our education. And I've learned a lot about funding and what the state legislatures are doing to help our students thrive and also foster their learning. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you for your report. We appreciate it. Next, Councilmember Treseder.
Thank you. I want to share that I represented the city of Irvine last January 24th at the League of California Cities Environmental Quality Policy Committee meeting. It was largely an introductory meeting where they talked about the scope of the committee and what we go through for protocols and things like that. The only thing that was really an important vote was the adoption of the 2025 work program. We voted to adopt the 3 following priorities for the work program. First is climate change and resiliency. Second is energy and utilities, particularly with regard to renewable energy. And the third is disaster and emergency preparedness and response. And I will continue to update you after any future meetings. Thank you.
Thank you for that report. Thank you also for representing us at an out-of-city important event. We appreciate that. Councilmember Go.
Good evening, everyone. I have to admit I'm a little sore today from running the Anaheim Ducks Foundation 5K on Sunday at District 2 Irvine at the Great Park Ice Rink with some friends from the city for a friendly competition. City Manager Oliver Chi and Ryan, Councilmember Carroll's team, joined me for the event. Ryan did finish first among us, but I think Oliver let me beat him so that he can win some favors over here, right, Oliver? So I did finish with a time of 23 minutes and 14 seconds. Although I didn't win this race, I did, however, place first in the council members division. So I'm encouraging all my council member colleagues here for next year to keep me honest and join me in this race. The best part with these events is that everyone wins. All finishers receive a medal. Next slide, please. As you can see, it was a great 5K community race in support of Anaheim Ducks Foundation, which creates meaningful change for families and children by expanding access to hockey while addressing the health and wellness needs for our local community. Next slide, please. Now I have a couple of board updates I'd like to share. I took the train from the Irvine Transportation Center in District 2 to Union Station, LA to attend my first SCAG meeting a couple of weeks ago. I was appointed to the Transportation Committee and can't wait to partner with elected officials throughout the county, Southern California area, to advocate for more frequent service on our rail system. Next slide, please. I'm also thrilled to partner with Girl Scout Troop 1379 and Irvine's 211 Marine Adoption Program to support our service members. By scanning the QR code that's displayed on your screen, you can donate boxes of Girl Scout cookies to the 211 Marine Adoption Program, providing a sweet treat to our U.S. Marines and their families stationed at Camp Pendleton. Thank you to Troop 1379 leader Patty Brown and Tina Anderson from the 211 Marine Adoption Committee for working with me on this project. Lastly, I do invite you to our office next district event, Biking in Irvine. Join us to hear updates and provide feedback on all things related to biking and active transportation infrastructure. My office has flyers available in the front for pickup today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Go. Vice Mayor Mai, you withdrew your name?
Oh, sorry, no, I'm ready to go.
All right, go ahead, Vice Mayor Mai.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to share two important community updates, two exciting things that are happening in the community. One is the food distribution event. We had the first food distribution event citywide at Heritage Park for the ages of 60 and over. This will be occurring every second Thursday every month for all ages. We'll have two groups, one for everyone over the age of 60 and an all ages group where people of the community in need can come and collect a food box for food box and groceries, which is going to happen every single second Thursday again. And that was very successful. We're partnering with CAPOC and a number of other nonprofits to help with that. The second was the city of Irvine. Eventually, we were going to be talking with a number of groups about developing a PACE center, and I'm pleased to announce that that has been going well with the city staff. And we actually, my office and I actually toured one of the largest PACE centers in Orange County in Garden Grove, just to take a look at how they're operating and how their facilities would potentially come to Irvine. Things are going very well with that, with communications along with CalOptima as well. So just wanted to update the community and my fellow colleagues here on that.
Thank you. Thank you for those reports and announcements. I have one brief announcement, a save the date announcement. I'd like to invite the public to attend the annual State of the City address on Tuesday, March 11th. This year's event will be held here at the Irvine Civic Center and will begin with a public reception at 4:30, followed by my State of the City address at 5:30. The reception promises to be very enjoyable. I understand there'll actually be some tasty hors d'oeuvres as well as some nice music and an opportunity to get reacquainted with one another. This event, the address beginning at 5:30, is a great opportunity for our community to come together. And all of us, I think, will be able to look forward to the sharing of accomplishments and our vision for the future for our city. For more information, you can go to cityofirvine.org/state of the city. So we hope to see many of you there, which is here at City Council Civic Center, beginning at 4:30 on March 11th. With that, I think we've concluded the announcements, and we now have an opportunity to move on to the balance of the agenda, beginning with a request of the city manager. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda that you want to alert us to tonight?
Mr. Mayor, no changes to the agenda this evening.
No additions or deletions, no changes. That means we can move on to the consent calendar. The consent calendar consists of matters considered by the city manager to be routine and will be enacted by one roll call vote. Typically, there'll be no discussion of those items unless members of the city council request specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion. We also take comments from the public on consent calendar items. In fact, those who may wish to comment on any of the consent calendar items tonight, which are items 3.1 to 3.5, any who wish to comment electronically via Zoom should at this time raise their hand, enter the speaker queue, and we will hopefully be able to accommodate your comments as well. Again, the consent calendar tonight is items 3.1 to 3.5. Are there any members who wish to withdraw items for separate consideration? Okay, I'm just wanting to be alerted to that. Do we have public comments tonight that we can hear at this time?
No, we don't, Mayor. No request to speak.
Well, that makes it easy then. With no requests to speak, with no requests from council members to withdraw any items, I think a motion to approve the consent calendar would be in order. Well, I'm going to take this opportunity to move the consent calendar.
Second.
Second.
Is there a second? All right. Motion and a second having been offered. No further discussion. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Go.
Yes.
Councilmember Liu.
Yes.
Councilmember Treceder.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mai.
Yes.
Mayor Agron.
Yes.
Carries 5-0 of the members present.
That concludes the consent calendar for tonight, allowing us to move on to council business. Council business tonight begins with item 4.1. Would the clerk identify this item by title?
Spectrum Great Park Opportunity Zone Planning and Crescent Property Exchange.
All right, those who may wish to comment on this item electronically, again, please raise your hand, enter the speaker's queue, and we will hear from you after we've heard from the city manager or others who may have a presentation. Am I calling on the city manager or am I calling on you, Pete? All right, welcome, our assistant city manager.
That's right. Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Pete Carmichael, Assistant City Manager, and with me tonight is Stephanie Frade, our Community Development Director. The next item before you tonight is part reflection on the city's growth and development and part opportunity to reinforce and draw on the master plan as we look to plan for the next chapter in the city's growth. Some 60 years ago, the forefathers of the city made an intentional decision to master plan the entirety of the Irvine Ranch. Being well aware of the advancing urban sprawl of Los Angeles, they created a blueprint that provided for sufficient infrastructure, preservation of open space, and balanced land uses that we've come to know as the Irvine Master Plan. And for 50 plus years, that master plan has been the foundation for an award-winning city, growing from 10,000 residents to over 320,000 since its founding in 1971, and having matured into a prosperous city that delivers an unmatched quality of life. Along the way, garnering numerous accolades, including awards in fiscal strength, top location to raise families, the number 4 park system in the nation, and the safest big city in America for 15 years running. Today, the city is approaching build-out. The conversion of former ranch lands into residential villages is coming to a close, and greenfield development is really turning to infill development and redevelopment. Smaller parcels in interior areas of the city, conversion of older properties to meet contemporary needs of residents and those who work in the city. And it creates an opportunity to carry on that tradition of great planning from the city's founding and address some important new priorities as they emerge. And at the top of that list is housing and affordable and workforce housing, allowing people to live close to job centers and enhancing transit and mobility options. One area of the city where this is particularly highlighted is an area we've called here the Spectrum Great Park Opportunity Zone. This is an area bordered on the north by the Great Park, the south by the Irvine Spectrum Retail Center, and anchored in the middle by the Irvine Transportation Center. It has many of the key pieces in place to allow for smart growth as the city looks to its development over the next generation. Notably, two of the region and perhaps even the nation's most popular destinations are in this area between the Great Park and the Spectrum Center. They draw over 25 million visitors a year today, a number far in excess of Disneyland and a number certain to grow as the framework plan is built out over the next 5 to 7 years. The Irvine Transportation Center is there in the middle, a train station that's gained popularity with commuters and has significant capacity to grow with the city. Connectivity, an opportunity to link together the Great Park, the train station, the Spectrum Center, and future development. A housing overlay, as the council may remember, the general plan update that was approved last year had 3 housing overlays, and 2 of those are right in this area. Excuse me, the PA51 or Great Park overlay and the PA32 or Spectrum overlay specifically designate these areas for future housing. And then lastly, consolidated ownership. Irvine benefits from land ownership consolidated amongst the Irvine Company, 5 Point Heritage Fields, and the city, making it easier to develop more systematic and strategic approaches to long-term development. Drawing on the master plan, this area really has an opportunity to become a special place. The master plans through the city's general plan and its land use goals specifically calls out for vibrant mixed-use areas, cores of higher density with pedestrian activity, and locating density in areas that are close to transit to encourage compact, pedestrian-friendly development patterns, and even to encourage transit-oriented development, locating mixed-use development close to transit to give people a higher degree of mobility options and less reliance on the automobile. As this area matures, there's an opportunity again to make a conscious decision to plan in the advance of growth in the coming years. What's recommended tonight is a focused planning effort to engage stakeholders and bring in outside expertise to help think through this area, evaluate strategies to create flexibility and focus growth, and to return back to the City Council for consideration. And importantly, to ensure that we draw on the principles of the master plan, we're recommending a set of development planning principles or guiding principles to serve as a North Star, if you will, for this effort. 5 concepts, one being mobility, a district with easily accessible multimodal networks or opportunities to travel by more than one mode. Form, a curated mix of land uses, putting perhaps retail, commercial, and residential together, and the adjacency allowing for walkability and, again, reduced reliance on automobiles. Creating an exciting place, promoting urban vitality, something that we hear is particularly important from the emerging demographics, the next generation that serves as the professional workforce that powers the economy, and a magnetic center for that innovation economy, again, attracting the younger workforce and the companies that are eager to employ them. And then lastly, ensuring this area has access to all of the full range of robust services that Irvine has come to know throughout the city. That's education, recreation, safety, and other city services. Diving down into more detail for a moment, sort of going from 30,000 feet to 5,000, there's one particular parcel in this area that rises above the rest in terms of its opportunity to catalyze this type of smart growth. Often referred to as the Crescent parcel. It's about 60 acres. It's here outlined in blue between the Great Park on the north and the train station on the south. Really a unique parcel for a number of reasons. It's walkable to transit, and in fact, the northern platform of the Irvine Transportation Center lies in this property. It links the Great Park to the train station. You can imagine a future where the Great Park draws far more visitors than it does today. This allows people to arrive and depart by public transit. And again, a catalyst for transit-oriented development, putting housing and workforce housing close to jobs and close to transit. When you think about transit-oriented development, certainly there's those housing and mobility options, but it really does promote smart growth. By that meaning the opportunity to grow with fewer car trips, reduced commutes, and mitigated impacts on the infrastructure. This property is potentially available through a property exchange with Heritage Fields El Toro, or 5 Point as they're more commonly known, through their management company. The way this could work is that 5 Point is interested in 2 city properties that are labeled here in blue, one at 20 acres south of Alton, one at 7 acres north of Barranca. And the city, if directed by the city council, staff would engage Heritage Fields 5 Point on a property exchange through which Heritage Fields would get the 27 acres and the city would get a commensurate portion of the 60-acre Crescent site. As the council is probably now familiar, most property transactions over the last 5 years start with the Surplus Lands Act, new state legislation that requires the city to consider various uses for property before an exchange, sale, or other disposition is considered. In this case, the first step is an exempt surplus declaration. The city be calling the properties exempt in order to trade for them for city use. Again, as talked about earlier in the presentation, that city use being one, transit, expanding access to and capacity of local transit, connectivity, linking the Great Park to the Irvine Transportation Center and the Spectrum, and then lastly, ensuring that this exchange is pursuant to a written plan adopted by the City Council. In this circumstance, that plan being the Great Park Framework Plan and incorporating the Crescent site into the Framework Plan to ensure proper planning and to ensure that it is done consistent with the plan already adopted by the Council. So 2 groups of recommendations before you tonight. The first is to approve the development planning principles for the Spectrum Great Park Opportunity Zone and direct staff to engage in a focused planning process to institute the identified strategies and return to council. And then secondly, 2 resolutions related to the Surplus Land Act as mentioned. The first, declaring the 27-acre city parcels as exempt surplus, and the second, a resolution to include the Crescent Transit-Oriented Development District site into the framework plan and to approve moving forward with the associated planning principles for the Great Park Opportunity Zone. With that, Stephanie and I are happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you for an excellent presentation. Are there questions or comments of staff at this time? I see no. There we are, Councilmember Liu. Go right ahead.
Just a quick question to see if we have any, can you elaborate on what the vision is for the Crescent area in, developing it into something that will be, what kind of use are we envisioning?
That is really what we would need to work through in this planning process, but I think certainly some of the fundamental uses would be connectivity, ensuring that people can easily get to the train station from the Great Park and from the Spectrum. It's certainly an opportunity for housing. As the council knows, that's a major job center, and the ability to locate workforce housing adjacent to the job center is appealing. And then beyond that, we would look to the study and the planning process to determine what are the other land uses that make sense in combination.
Great, thank you.
I'd like to just follow up on that. So basically what you're describing, I hope, is a place in the city where an active person could live, work, enjoy recreational amenities, enjoy a very high quality of life without having to own a private automobile. Is that correct?
I think that's a good way to describe it, yes.
All right. That sounds terrific. Any other comments? At this time, I'll turn to our city clerk then and ask if there are any requests to comment on the part of the public.
Thank you, Mayor. We have 3 requests to speak. Our first speaker is James. James, you may unmute your mic.
Good evening, members of the City Council. I want to thank city staff for finding a creative solution to the issue that was at Irvine Station. The original 5-point development plan was just yet another suburban subdivision, which would have been a huge waste of this land at the only train station in Irvine. And this new opportunity at the Crescent will take advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to create Irvine's first walkable, transit-oriented development. And it's right next to Irvine Station. Irvine Connect is going there. We can have future transit lines going there, and we can have bike lanes, pedestrian areas, vertical mixed use. We can have so many good things here, but only if we have a consolidated amount of land right next to the station, and this is the perfect opportunity to do it. I urge the city to move forward with this land deal, and I also did notice that 5 Point is getting a small 7-acre slice next to the station. I hope that can somehow be like at least transit adjacent, you know, somewhat urban use. I don't know what the plan is for that, but I would love to see that to take advantage of the train station as much as possible. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Our next speaker is Jay. Jay, you may unmute your mic.
Hello, City Council members. I like the language that's being used here, and I just pretty much echoing James's comments. I like the plans going on here, and I think, honestly, this seems like a slam dunk property exchange. But I really wanted to know more about what Heritage Field aims to get out of this because of that. I was wondering if we knew more about their plans for the site, again, right next to the ITC, because that could become a pretty important piece of land, and maybe even their lands for right next to the wildlife corridor, because I don't, gotta have a full picture of this, I think, given that it seems pretty positive.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Harvey Liss. Harvey, you may unmute your mic.
Hi, I'm Harvey Liss, a resident of Irvine since '76. Great presentation. I just want to mention that the discussion of schools seemed to be very, very short. I just wanted to emphasize that considering schools should be a very important part of the process. Anyway, thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Liss, for your comments.
Our next speaker is Sylvia Walker. Sylvia, you may unmute your mic. You have 90 seconds.
Hi, Sylvia Walker, Irvine resident. I'll just keep this simple. I am asking you to approve this land swap and go ahead with plans for a TOD, a transit-oriented development, which means it would have housing, it would be walkable, and it would have public transportation, and being next to the train station, it makes it an ideal location for a transit-oriented development or TOD. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Walker.
Our next speaker is Jeremy. Jeremy, you may unmute your mic. You have 90 seconds.
Yes, I really like the land swap idea. I think this is all an improvement to that area. I feel like the city is definitely listening to the residents last time speaking on this topic. And with regards to these land swap deals between 5 Point and the city, it's really encouraging to see. I know they've been doing that with the Almquist development. There's some land swaps there near in Great Park to accommodate food and retail. Now there's going to be accommodations with the Todd transit-oriented development. So I think all this is encouraging, and it's good because none of this stuff really happened when I believe it was the CEO of 5 Point was Emil Haddad. I just have a feeling this would have never happened if the CEO was still Emil Haddad. I think since then, I think it's still Dan Hedigan, but since he's been the CEO of 5 Point, a lot of good things have happened, and that's really encouraging to see because we're actually seeing results in the development of Great Park areas. So I just, just really positive, and I can't wait to see what's going to be built out in this area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ficarola.
Our next speaker is telephone number 360. 360, you may unmute your mic. You have 90 seconds.
Yeah, hi there. I believe Irvine is a fairly special place. I've been here for about 25 years or so, moved from Queens. And it's amazing how people, When they talk about more housing, more public transportation, resulting in more pollution, more crime, more crowdedness, and, from the outside looking in, more LA type of activities. And it's important to not LA our OC. This is a pretty special place as it is. And people are always trying to fix things and make things more accommodating. And, if you look at any history, look at these big cities, they're sadly rotting away. And we certainly don't want that to happen. We want to preserve what we have. Don't LA my OC. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Our next speaker is Kevin Lee. Kevin, you may unmute your mic. You have 90 seconds.
Good evening, city council members. I am a Irvine resident, and I would just like to express my support for the land swap plan. I think it's a great plan and will help a lot of people. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments.
Our next speaker is Joshua Moore. Joshua, you may unmute your mic. You have 90 seconds.
Hi, I'm Joshua Moore, resident of Woodbridge. I wanted to thank staff for arranging this solution. I think any other use for this land would be a terrible waste, and I encourage the City Council to pass it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Mr. Mayor, that's all the Zoom speakers. We did have one late sign up from someone in person. I'll leave that up to you.
Sure, we'll take this as the final public commenter.
Thank you, Mayor. If I could call forward Tomas. And Tomas, you have 90 seconds.
Good evening, Council. I just want to offer my additional support to the other public commenters for this land deal. We do need more transit-oriented development in Irvine, and this is a great way to start. Thank you.
Thank you for your in-person comments. Much appreciated.
And that is all, Mayor.
All right, having heard from the public, it's an opportunity once again to hear from council members. Why don't I move this matter, and then council members, if they wish to speak, can speak to the motion, as well as offer any other comments. I'll move staff recommendations 1, 2, and 3. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Council Member Treseder. Let me, just for the benefit of those who may be unaware of the precise nature of the proposed action, action item number 1 is to approve the development planning principles for the Spectrum Great Park Opportunity Zone and direct staff to initiate a focused planning process to institute the identified strategies. Action numbers 2 and 3 are resolutions. And number 2 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Irvine to include the Crescent Transit-Oriented Development District within the Great Park Framework Plan and to approve a plan and associated planning principles for the Great Park Opportunity Zone. Action item number 3, again, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Irvine declaring 3 parcels in and around the Great Park exempt surplus land pursuant to California Government Code Section 54221F1C. The motion having been offered, a second, are there further council comments?
Mayor,
I'm sorry, Mr. Melchi.
If I could request a small correction to the title of the third resolution that you read.
All right.
It's not 3 parcels in and around the Great Park. By the way, these are my errors. I wrote the title, but I've recognized them and I want them to be correct when we send this up to Housing and Community Development.
Sure.
It's 2 parcels. And they're not in and around the Great Park, they're in the vicinity of the Great Park. So if you'd allow us to make those changes to the final and include that in your motion, it'd be very much
So
appreciated.
that resolution will be deemed to read declaring 2 parcels
In the vicinity
in
of
the
the Great Park.
vicinity of the Great Park exempt surplus land pursuant to California Government Code.
Yes, please, thank you.
With that correction, let me just say I think we're about to unanimously approve this action. I just want the public to appreciate how much hard work went into all of this. And we're now, I think, poised to pass something that will lead to land uses that I think we can be very proud of in the future. One caller, I think it was Mr. Ficarola, mentioned Dan Hedigan, CEO at the 5 Point offices. And indeed, we've had a good working relationship with Mr. Hedigan and others at 5 Point. And our staff has just been very, very hard at work to make these mutually beneficial land swaps and use plans move from ideas to reality. And with that, unless there's further comment, yes, I see Councilmember Go. I'll call on you, and then we'll move on to a vote.
I just want to clarify, this is the Saddleback School District, correct?
Correct. I believe it is, yes.
Yeah, I just want to confirm that. As you know, a lot of the concerns in our district is the school's capacities. I'm really happy to see Luna Park sell significantly at a higher pace than expected, even though it's not in the Irvine School District. While Saddleback is a great school district as well, I'm glad that we're able to address that concern. And with that said, I'm looking forward to working with staff on this project for the next 4 years in our district, really pushing forward on taking advantage of the transportation mode there by the train station. So great work by everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you for those comments. Anything further? Seeing no requests, I'll turn to our city clerk and ask him to please call the roll.
Councilmember Go.
Yes.
Councilmember Liu.
Yes.
Councilmember Treseder.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mai.
Yes.
Mayor Agron.
Yes.
Carries 5-0 of the members present.
Excellent. Thank you to all involved. We move now to business item 4.2. I'll turn to the city clerk to identify this item by title.
Ordinance establishing changes and additions to posted speed limits.
Thank you. Once again, those wishing to comment via Zoom, please raise your hand now. Get into the queue so you can electronically be with us for the public comment period ahead. I'll turn now to our city staff. Please identify yourselves and welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Agron and fellow council members. My name is Wyatt Singh, and I am the administrator of the traffic engineering team here at the city. I'm joined with the Deputy Director of Transportation, Kerwin Lau, and we are here today to present an ordinance to amend the city's engineering and traffic survey for speed limits, which sets speed limits on our roadways. To start, I'd like to provide some context as to existing legislation that supports our efforts to review and establish appropriate speed limits within the city. California state law establishes that the maximum speed limit for a 2-lane undivided roadway is 55 miles per hour. All other roadways by default can exhibit a 65 mile per hour maximum speed limit. If a speed limit is to be posted below these values for either roadway classification, an engineering and traffic survey must be conducted and maintained by the city. There are 2 exceptions. The first exception being a roadway segment at or near uncontrolled rail crossings, uncontrolled intersections, and alleyways should have a designated speed limit of 15 miles per hour. And secondly, roadway segments at or near school zones, senior centers, and local streets within residential districts should have a designated speed limit of 25 miles per hour. The California Vehicle Code, or CVC for short, allows public agencies to set speed limits by establishing an ordinance. This allows for the city to promote orderly movement at speeds below the designated maximum speed limits. This action also allows for effective enforcement by public safety by means of electronic devices. Assembly Bill 43 within California state law allows for prevailing speed limits to be rounded down by 5 miles per hour. AB 43, as it's known in short, also allows for further adjustment by means of 2 criteria. The first criteria being if a roadway segment is considered a safety corridor, and secondly, if a roadway segment is adjacent to or within proximity of land uses or facilities that generate high concentrations of bicyclists and pedestrians. AB 43 also allows the city to retain the current speed limit or restore prior speed limits if no general purpose lanes have been added to the roadway segment being analyzed. Using this legislation as support, the city routinely conducts an engineering and traffic survey in order to document the speed survey data results and determine appropriate and enforceable speed limit postings. The prevailing speed is determined by conducting a speed survey to calculate this 85th percentile speed, and from this determination, the speed limit is rounded to the nearest 5 mile an hour increment. If the 85th percentile is to be rounded up, legislation allows for it to be optionally rounded down, and it can be rounded down an additional 5 miles an hour based on the previous criteria mentioned. For the city's 2024 engineering and traffic survey, 126 roadway segments were reviewed. Of these segments, 38 will maintain the existing speed limit, 6 will establish speed limits where there was not a previously established posted speed limit, and decreased speed limits will be posted on 82 roadway segments as part of that survey. This slide displays a map of the segments where speed limits will be established, as well as the segments where speed limits will be reduced. Upon the compilation of our engineering and traffic survey, city staff recommends that City Council introduce for first reading and read by title only an ordinance directing an amendment to the City of Irvine's engineering and traffic survey for speed limits as maintained by the Public Works and Sustainability Department as the official documentation of declared prima facie speed limits. That concludes our presentation. Thank you for your time, and we're here to answer any questions.
Well, thank you for that presentation. Are there comments or questions from my colleagues here on the council? Let me start one off. I see no requests, but let me start one off. The lowering of the speed limits, to what is that attributable? I mean, typically in the past, when you've come in, there are very few changes. Or if there are changes, they typically were to raise the speed limit. So what is there about the legislation that effectively lowered the speed limit?
That's a great question, Mayor Agron. Thank you for that. The Assembly Bill 43 that we mentioned was more clearly defined last year, roughly June 2024, to provide better guidance and ability to lower speed limits. Subsequent language within our federal and state guidelines that we follow included some clearer information as well, and just ultimately more ample opportunities to lower said speed limits.
Is there an expressed sentiment statewide that speed limits ought to be lowered I know previously the whole 85th percentile business and everything was a response to legislators themselves. I remember a few of those incidents having been caught in speed traps. And so they set up this whole new standard about an 85th percentile and so forth to eliminate what were typically small town speed traps. Did that kind of lock us into a straitjacket situation that led to decades of raising speed limits that we're now lowering? Is there sentiment to that effect that, wow, we've got speed limits in city after city that are just too high?
To your sentiment, yes, that's correct. There was, statewide a trend, an upward trend, as you mentioned, and most of the information, again, tied to Assembly Bill 43 is addressing that in order to bring these speed limits back down in an appropriate manner.
I think of this in our own experience here in Irvine. Our traffic engineers who do a wonderful job in my view, but I think they measure success by, wow, how many cars can we move how quickly from one part of the city to another, safely of course, but volume, speed. I think the bias was toward higher speed limits. Now as we struggle with sharing the roads and figuring out how do we accommodate pedestrians, bicyclists, e-bikers, and cars. How do we make all this work? And I must say, it's a pretty frightening concept to have e-bikers or other bicyclists on roads in bike lanes with a 45-mile-per-hour speed limit right next to them. And to the extent that we can slow people down a bit and get them to buy into the concept of sharing the road and sharing these rights of way, I think that's kind of a good long-range trend if we can make that happen. Is our staff generally on board with that sentiment, or do you guys argue about this all the time?
We're engineers. We argue about a lot of things like that. But when it comes down to the numbers, it's just the right thing to really, like you said, allow various users to share the same space. And to your point earlier, yeah, the intent for many years was to just move the cars as fast as we could, but the laws also played in a part to that. With these changes and the flexibility to lower the speeds, I think we're all going to move in that direction to accommodate as many users as possible in a safe manner.
All right. I'm going to say just one more thing, give myself a few more seconds here. I can't help but recall when there was a time when we didn't have these required 5-mile-per-hour increments, but we could actually set our own speed limits here. And I remember, I think it was the old Myford Road that we set a speed limit, our traffic engineers did actually, because people were going too fast along this old country road. And so they were going to set a speed limit of 15 miles per hour, but they got the bright idea, no, let's set it at 16 miles per hour. People will actually pay attention to that. And I remember at the time, people did pay attention. Wow, 16 miles, they must have done that for a good reason, And now, of course, we have to conform to the 5-mile-per-hour increments. But I'm glad to hear that our staff is thinking about safety and how does all this really, really work. And assuming this passes and you implement it, I'd sure like to see some reports 3 months or 6 months from now with an analysis of whether or not it has changed people's behaviors in a safer direction. So with that, I'll turn to Councilmember Liu at this time to comment.
Thank you for taking the time to do this study. And obviously, as somebody who is driving my kids around when they're little, I would like to have no speed limit because we're always rushing somewhere. But I also recognize that, it is safer for all of us to have a reasonable speed so we can all share the road. I would like to see, so part of it is comment that I'm happy to see this is a beginning and we'll start encouraging other modes of transportation and with the addition of protected bike lanes and maybe different signals or different speed on the road to help promote different ways of letting people get through to where they need to be safely. So my question is, I know that this will be implemented 30 days after the second read, and just for residents' sake, can you give us a projected time of this ordinance to start, just so everybody's on the same page and we all know when to start slowing down?
Yes, thank you for that, Councilmember Liu. Our coordination efforts include working with our street maintenance staff as part of our public works team to order the amount of signs that are needed and then therefore to install those signs. We also work with the various groups within our public works team, such as our traffic management center, to make sure that the signal operation reflects the appropriate speed modifications, if you will. So typically our timeline would be about 6 to 9 months.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any others? There being no other requests to be heard, I think, unless you have something to add, at this time then I'm going to ask the clerk to please call the roll on the motion before us.
Actually, Mayor, if I may, we have 4 requests to speak from members of the public.
Thanks for reminding me. Okay. With that, would you call on those individuals, please?
Thank you, Mayor. If I could call forward Alan Meyerson.
Welcome, Mr. Meyerson.
I wasn't going to speak on this, but reducing the speed limits is a good idea. That means instead of people going 60, they'll be going 55 because nobody follows the speed limit. In fact, in Irvine, since I've lived here, especially in the last, I'd say, 5 years, the drivers in this city are horrendous. They're horrible. So I would hope that when the speed limits are reduced, that the Irvine Police Department strictly enforces those speed limits, especially the racers on Irvine Center Drive at night. I don't know if they're going to go 5 miles an hour slower or not, probably not. But I hope that when this is implemented, that many tickets are given out so people will slow down. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Our next speaker is Harvey Liss. Harvey, you may unmute your mic.
Hi, I'm the same Harvey Liss who spoke earlier, a resident of Irvine since 1976. The report listed 82 streets or street segments that have had their speed limit lowered by the additional 5 miles per hour without any indication of why. It would be nice to know why. Mayor Agrin implied so in his question, but there was really no answer given except the implication that slower is safer. However, he did ask for a report in 3 months, although we don't know to what it would be compared. As the presenter made clear, AB 43 passed in 2021 permits the city to lower speed limits below what the mechanism had been used to establish speed limits before, which is based on actual traffic speeds. The fourth reason listed in AB 43 that the city can use to lower speed limits and was mentioned in the presentation, now I'll repeat it, is the speed limit may be additionally lowered by 5 miles per hour if the roadway segment is a safety corridor or is adjacent to generators that yield a high concentration of bicyclists and pedestrians. It would seem that this was the item that was used to justify reducing the speed limit. However, it would be nice to know what the motivation was. What is the actual reason? How many traffic, pedestrian, or traffic bicycle accidents have been occurring on the various streets or street segments? Or is this going to be a field day for speed traps, as Mayor Eggman had mentioned? Also, are there better solutions to increasing safety, like stop signs that have lots of lights around the perimeter powered from solar panel battery devices, or more isolated bike lanes, or signs at crosswalks asking walkers to put away their cell phones momentarily and take a look at oncoming traffic? It's amazing how many people walk across the street, looking at their cell phones, never once looking at oncoming traffic. I find it astonishing. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Our next speaker is telephone number 360. 360, you may unmute your mic.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to speak. Yeah, what was not mentioned at all in this presentation, which, to be candid with you, I thought was kind of novice. I mean, I can put together some presentation and willy-nilly come up with certain areas that need to have their speeds either maintained or decreased, but there was no mention of safety. You know, what does the safety protocol call for? Did we measure the difference in, you know, potential accidents, you know, fatalities, et cetera, from going from 50 to 45 miles an hour? You know, I don't see any justification for what was presented that it actually weakens, or I should say that it actually increases the safety profile of Irvine. It's almost the equivalent of, like, to say that lower speed is safety is just ridiculous. If somebody's driving on the 5 freeway at 50 miles an hour, do you think they're a safe driver? Absolutely not. The person going 65 is probably driving at a safer speed, and the person going 45 is the one that's driving at a not safety speed. Did anybody look at the pollution that's going to be generated when you're stuck in traffic? Did anybody look at the traffic that this may cause? I mean, come on, guys, this is just ridiculous. No study, no information. How you guys run the city is ridiculous. Maybe I should run on a tax rebate for citizens, because this is just a waste of county money. Sorry, and thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Our next speaker is James. James, you may unmute your mic.
Good evening, members of the council. James again. I live in Woodbridge, and a couple months ago, near an intersection where I live, Alton and East Yale Loop, there was a car accident where a kid biking to school was hit by a car, hit and run. This is the kind of thing that we don't want to happen. Lower speed limits are absolutely necessary for safety for 2 reasons. One, the faster you're going, the less time you have to react. Yes, kids will sometimes pop out. Someone might be distracted, but does that mean they deserve to die? Of course not. The slower you're going, the more braking distance you have so that you don't hit the person and kill them. And if you do hit the person, there's a thing in physics called the square of velocity is proportional to the force. Every time you double the speed, you quadruple the amount of force that is in the vehicle, so that if you hit someone, you're imparting 4 times the force. So I'm not going to say 5 miles per hour is going to solve everything, but the lower the speed limit, you are quadratically reducing the amount of force by the amount of speed reduction. So if somebody gets hit by a car, the slower they're going, the better chance they have of surviving. And it's also an issue of just comfort. As someone who rides my bicycle to most places, it is scary cycling along a lot of bike lanes. When cars are going at highway speeds, it doesn't matter if there's a line of paint between me, or even if I had a little concrete curb, when they're going 55, 60 miles per hour, that's just very uncomfortable. It feels like I could be a hit at any time, that I'm just one distracted driver away from being dead. So speed limits matter. And of course, speed limits need to be backed by design changes. If people are still speeding after the speed limit changes, instead of just doing speed traps, adjust the design of the road, narrow the lanes, adjust the width of the intersection, that type of thing. Make sure that drivers are slowing down so that we're all safer. It doesn't need to be a speed trap. That's not the point. We want people to be safer. Thank you.
Thank you for your very thoughtful comments.
Our next speaker is Sylvia. Sylvia, you may unmute your mic. You have 90 seconds.
Hi, this is Sylvia Walker again, Irvine resident. I am going to follow up on what the previous speakers said and just put a concept out there that for the council members to consider and to look into if they have not heard of it before. And that concept is that the road design, such as we have in Irvine, encourages speeding, encourages fast speed. And so I would ask you to look into that concept and do some of the design changes wherever possible that the previous speaker spoke about. And if you're not familiar with it, Strong Towns is one place where you can find out more information on that. And yes, please do reduce speed limits. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Walker.
Our next speaker is Yusuf. Yusuf, you may unmute your mic. You have 90 seconds.
Hi there, Yusuf, longtime resident of Irvine. I'm born and raised in Irvine. Yeah, I think the issue with speeding is that it fundamentally what determines human behavior and poor driving is design. And I think that's something that I hope we can keep in mind as we talk about traffic safety. And if you look in the TDPs, the Transportation Design Procedures, I think that's what the acronym is, Irvine recommends 13-foot lanes for through lanes. And if you don't know how wide that is, that's as wide as a lane on the 5 or the 405. So, you know, the idea is the wider a road is, the more comfortable psychologically a person feels driving, and thus the faster they'll drive and the more danger they create for people on our roads, especially vulnerable road users. So this is, you know, changing a number on a sign and enforcement. I mean, those are welcome, but they are nowhere near as effective in dealing with traffic safety issues as physical changes to the speed, to the road design of the road. And there are many tools in our toolkit to deal with these issues and kind of address the legacy of how our transportation system has been designed. So I just hope that's something we keep in mind, and there's no substitute for physical changes to the road. And
thank you for your comment. Your time is up.
Well, why don't you just finish your sentence? Go ahead.
And I just wanted to thank staff for taking every available tool that they have to reduce speed limits under the new legislation, and I think they did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Adriana. Adriana, you may unmute your mic. You have 90 seconds.
Yes, I just would like to chime in and say that I definitely support changes to the speed limit to lower the speed limits and make Irvine safer for people that walk. I walk a lot. I like to tell people that I live off of the Culver Speedway, which is very unpleasant to walk along. So yeah, anything you can do to help lower speed limits and improve road design to make it safer for us to walk. Thanks.
Thank you.
And that is all, Mayor.
Having heard from the public, I'll turn to my colleagues one more time. Any comments? Councilmember Vice Mayor Mai.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just want to say I would love to see a report on how safe it is to just reduce it. How many lives can be saved, or how many accidents can be avoided by reducing the speed limits? I mean, I haven't seen anything like that. I'm all for providing a safer environment for people, for pedestrians and bicyclists, but I just would like to know a little bit more details on this. If we could have that eventually, that would be great. Because, I mean, lowering at 5, lowering at 10, lowering at 15, how low can we go until it's really safe? I mean, I could say you could get hit by a car at 20 miles per hour and it'd be dangerous. So how low do we actually go until we hit a threshold that says, okay, this is safe and this is not safe? I mean, we're trying to do a reasonable thing, but I think we need a report as well eventually.
Thank you, Councilmember Mai. Councilmember Liu.
I guess this is more a comment. Are we looking for an actual study on how many lives we're saving in Irvine, or how many accidents we're looking at because of the speed?
That was simply Councilmember Mize.
Oh, no, I mean, just in general, there's some other comments about that. So that's why I'm a little confused as to what we're looking at.
Okay. Well, let me just add my 2 cents on that. This is a very complicated subject, obviously, and there are all kinds of trade-offs here. The one thing we did not discuss in any great length here, and I don't think it's necessarily appropriate to discuss it, but we should come back to the subject, perhaps at another meeting, on enforcement of traffic laws. I think I can say without contradiction that people's concern about violence, we live in a very violent society, but no violence compares to vehicular violence, what goes on every day on our roads by way of injuries, deaths, traumatization of folks and the like. And each of these dangerous acts that people engage in on the roads, they're not all the same. I assume I haven't looked at the data lately, but for a while, the city of Irvine had a well-earned reputation for cracking down on drunk driving. I don't know if the data has sustained that reputation in recent years, but I think we even posted signs. If you drink and drive in Irvine, we're going to catch you. And I did have the feeling that the city got the reputation as being a city that you just didn't mess with if you were drinking and driving. You stayed away, which was good. I don't know that we've ever had a reputation of that sort with respect to speeding. We get a lot of complaints about road racing that's going on now, but generalized complaints about speeding, I just don't know that stricter enforcement would really pay off there intuitively. I think it would. But of course, there's a price associated with that kind of enforcement. So what I'm suggesting is that although we're not weighing in on all those policies tonight, I think this recommended action, I think it moves us in the right direction, focusing more on speed, slowing down. But I do think assuming this passes, we need to revisit this, get your subjective as well as objective impressions of whether or not these changes have produced changes in behavior. And then we need to, I think, mix in the enforcement questions to see whether we can do better with greater enforcement relative to speeding. Those are just some related thoughts that I have. So, Councilmember Liu.
Oh, just want to reiterate that had nothing to do with the, attacking on the commenters. I'm just trying to figure out how, what we're looking at exactly.
Well, the motion is simply to change these speed limits.
So I guess the point is I would rather not let perfection be the reason why we're not making any progress or have inactions. Any little step towards a safer, traffic is a good step. And like many of the commenters have made, that this is somewhat something that we can start in conjunction of other measures to make traveling safer, roads safer for all the residents. And I believe this shouldn't be a controversial issue. So that's
perhaps
Maybe I can offer a little bit of assistance on this particular matter. On an annual basis, as the city establishes our capital improvement program budget, one of the things that we look at are accident reports for every street segment throughout town. And our Public Works and Sustainability Department, as we're planning out roadway improvements, we certainly take that into account. Councilmember Liu, if there are any design changes that need to be implemented. As it relates to some of the feedback we heard this evening related to are the lower speeds increasing safety, I think the long and the short of it is we can absolutely compile some research for the council and provide that information to everybody. The foundational principles behind AB 43 that have given us this additional tool really are built around safety. There was a task force, I believe it was called the Zero Traffic Fatality Task Force, that the state had set up that identified a series of options for local municipalities to consider lowering speeds only if there was an increase in the local safety efforts. And for all of the street segments that our team analyzed, and for the public and the council's background, 126 segments we analyzed this year of city streets. That means putting out those rubber tires, the rubber lines on the floor, measuring how fast people are traveling in each segment, then doing the proper analysis for each segment to match up what the safety patterns look like to identify whether or not it qualifies for a reduction in the speed. That's the work that the transportation team engaged to ultimately distill it into the recommendations before you. And certainly I think some of the feedback from Vice Mayor Mai, some of the public comments we heard, we can absolutely compile some of the logic behind why and how we think it will contribute to a safer environment moving forward. We can also monitor these segments more closely in the year ahead. But certainly I think kudos to the staff for all the work that they did in presenting options for the council. If not for the work that staff did, ultimately we would have had to increase speeds on 42 of the segments that have been presented to you tonight, rather than either maintaining or reducing the speed by no more than 5 miles per hour. That ultimately, I think, is what we're trying to do here based on the new tools the state provided. I think all the feedback regarding safety is really important. We certainly have heard that loud and clear, and we'll definitely follow up with some more information for the council.
Sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, and I would really like the city staff to also consider all the recommendations made by the commenters about changing road design and using other available technologies to change, make our traveling safer. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Chi. I'm just thinking that embedded in that was, I trust, the thought that you would actually return to the council with an agendized item, perhaps in 6 months after implementation of these changes, comparing the baseline to where we are 6 months from now. And that would include objective data and subjective impressions as well?
Mm-hmm. Certainly we can accommodate that.
All right. Let's allow ample time on a future agenda for that important discussion. With that, and seeing no other requests, I'm going to call the question here and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Mr. Mayor, 2 things. Number one, I'm not sure there was a first and a second to adopt the ordinance. And also as a reminder, the ordinance needs to be read into the record, and I'm happy to do that, or defer to the maker of the motion.
The ordinance itself, yes. Did I make the motion?
I didn't have a mover and a second for the motion,
Well,
so I apologize if I missed it.
No, I think it's my oversight. I'll move staff recommendation, which is introduction of an ordinance on first reading, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Irvine, California, directing an amendment to the City of Irvine engineering and traffic surveys for speed limits, as maintained by the Public Works and Sustainability Department as the official documentation of declared prima facie speed limits. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A motion made by me and seconded by Councilmember Liu is now properly before us. I think I'd be remiss if I didn't give one last opportunity for anybody to make a comment at the dais. See no requests. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Go.
Yes.
Councilmember Liu.
Yes.
Councilmember Treceder.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mai.
Yes.
Mayor Agron.
Yes.
Carries 5-0 of the members present.
Thank you, everyone, for your thoughtful comments and participation. And thank you to our staff. We now move to item 4.3. Would the clerk please identify this business item by title?
Establishment of the Health and Wellness Advisory Committee and adoption of bylaws.
Once again, those wishing to comment, public members wishing to comment electronically, please raise your hand and enter the speaker's queue via Zoom. And at this time, I'll call directly on our city staff to introduce themselves and make a presentation, please.
Thank you, Mayor Agron, members of the City Council. Brian King, Assistant City Manager. With me is Heather Stratman, the city's Chief Health and Wellness Officer. The item here before you this evening is the first formal step in creating the Health and Wellness Committee that is advisory to the City Council and supported by the Office of Health and Wellness. In doing so, we're able to combine two existing committees, streamlining their efforts and increasing their visibility to the City Council and City Manager's Office. I'm going to turn it over to Heather to provide a brief presentation that gives some background and additional details. And after that presentation, Heather and I will be available to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Just to provide some background and context of what we're discussing here tonight, in March of 2023, staff provided City Council with an overview of the new Health and Wellness Initiative. Since that time, the Health and Wellness Initiative has grown substantially. The Office of Health and Wellness is taking shape, and we're excited about the progress that's happening before us. And as that office is taking shape and we are building initiatives, it was determined that it would be a good idea to consolidate two existing committees and also expand the scope of the proposed Health and Wellness Committee. So those two existing committees are the Irvine Child Care Advisory Committee and the Irvine Child, Youth, and Families Advisory Committee. Those would be consolidated into the proposed Health and Wellness Committee, and again, that scope would be broadened to take on multiple efforts. The benefits of doing so would be to avoid duplication of staff efforts and workflows among multiple departments, reduce administrative costs, and provide increased advisory committee coverage to mirror city needs and our initiatives. The proposed duties of the committee would include programs for children, youth, and families, housing program assistance, supportive services, and the Irvine Cares Community Programming Initiative. In addition, the committee's scope would be to collaborate with community organizations on enhancement of health and wellness-related services and programs, conduct outreach and serve as a liaison to the community by informally sharing information learned at meetings and promoting relevant city events, share questions, concerns, and ideas from the community with the committee and the council, report annually on goals and accomplishments, and lastly, perform such other duties or studies as may be directed by the City Council. If adopted this evening, our first potential committee meeting for the Health and Wellness Committee would be anticipated for May of 2025. And with that, we are here to answer any questions that you might have.
Are there questions of staff on this matter at this time? Well, I'll get things started. I think a little historical context is worthwhile here. It was about 5 years ago that the pandemic struck, and that experience revealed a lot of shortcomings. We were simply not prepared. I think no city in America was prepared. We scrambled as a city to meet the crisis as best we could, but in meeting it, it revealed so many problems. Amid all the abundance of health and healthcare resources that we have, nevertheless, our municipality, our city government, it was quite obvious to me and to others, was not properly organized to take advantage of all these resources we have, but to put them together in a very carefully prepared organization that could meet all kinds of crises as well as the everyday matters of health and wellness. There was some discussion at the time about the need to create a Department of Public Health, Department of Health here in the city. There are a few cities in California that have those departments of health. Incidentally, those cities performed better in response to the pandemic than the vast majority of other cities in the state that did not have a specific Department of Health. So as we addressed the problems of the pandemic, came out of it, I think there still was a strong appetite to rationalize our various public health resources, organize them, create a, if not department, an office of health and wellness. And I guess that's when we hired you, isn't it, Heather? And I'm glad we did. I think you've done a lot. Brian, of course, we've worked with you. And I think you're in the midst of, even though this report comes to us, this particular action comes to us as a small piece of the larger effort that's underway. What, as I understand it from the city manager and from others, what we're trying to do is undertake what seems to me to be a 2 or 3 year project to really capitalize on all the remarkable healthcare resources, physical health, mental health that we have here in the city, get it all put together in a way that makes sense. This is no easy task, and this is a part of it, though, because we've had this child care committee, and we've had the ICFAC, the Irvine Children, Youth, and Families Advisory Committee operating for 20 years or so. And as I understand this puts them together. They become then an advisory panel to you. And one thing I was looking for here, because we do want to have good, strong advisors as you go about your work. Is there an opportunity within the bylaws to expand the membership over time? Or do we have to actually amend the bylaws to do that?
Mayor, the bylaws are set up for a fixed membership, so we would have to amend the bylaws, but it's, I mean, obviously, if it's appropriate, we bring it to council, it's a fairly simple change.
Excellent. Well, those are my questions, my comments. This is, I think, an excellent staff report, and again, the work that you're doing is very much appreciated. I think as people in Irvine begin to understand the mammoth undertaking that this is, I think they're going to be very grateful in a year or two or three when we've actually put together something that's going to be pretty amazing. That's my comment. Councilmember, Vice Mayor Mai.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Agron. Thank you, Heather and Brian. We work pretty closely here, and I've been involved in the woods with you guys, so happy to see you here and happy that you are doing all that you do. I have a couple questions. I guess it's more for, I'm not going to ask you guys, but more for City Manager Chi. So this advisory committee, I mean, we've had this health and wellness department for years now, right? 3 years now, has it been?
Correct.
Okay, and it's just, so we are, just to be clear, we're building a committee, like basically an oversight of this department, is that correct? Is that, just making sure what we're...
Of the function, correct.
Okay, and also, so we're combining ICFAC and Irvine Child Care Committee. I was a volunteer father of one of these committees. I built 4 or 5 years ago as well, so I know them well. What is going to happen to all the committee members? Are they going to be merged into this? Are we going to get new people? Or are we going to merge everyone into one group? Or what's going to happen to the current?
Current thought right now in structure is to have the committee be 11 members, where folks from both the Child Care Advisory Committee and ICFAC could move into the new roles. For the overarching program, what we're looking to do is create some subcommittees within this updated advisory committee for health and wellness to focus on specific areas that the group is really geared and directed towards focused efforts on. So that would include some of our senior services would be one component. Our child care services would be a different component. Housing is one of the areas now that are under Heather's operation and Brian's operation that we're trying to merge groups together. That'd be another group. That health and wellness really spans the gamut of multiple functions in the city. Senior care is another group. And so depending on, we'll have an overarching committee structure of 11 members that will provide oversight, and then within each of the specific areas that the group's working in, we'll have additional subcommittee members to provide expertise, all cycling up to be able to make better recommendations to the council moving ahead on what we should be doing on this space.
Okay, and as Mayor Agron mentioned, it sounds like from what you're describing, we'll need to have more people on this committee with each subset group. So I'd be all in favor to expanding the community's involvement, which I believe that the community should be very involved in this as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Council Member and Vice Mayor Mai. Council Member Liu.
Well, yeah. So thank you for doing all this, and mental health and wellness are very important to our residents, and I'm glad to see this happening. And in fact, in anticipation of this, I appointed the same person to both ICFAC and Child Care Committee. Anyway, and I will have to say that she's very experienced and very happy to see that the programs that she worked with other parents decades ago are still going on, and so I'm glad that this is happening. Having said that, I have a little question about the one member at large, because currently this both of the existing committees report to Community Services Commission, and so my question is, now that they don't and they report directly to council, who is going to select the member at large that through recruitment? How do we pick this person?
That person can be selected by the committee members themselves. We also, because we are combining two committees, we have some sense of who might be interested in that. Some of the committees have trouble meeting because they don't have a quorum. Some people are pretty excited, so we'll certainly take interest, and the committee themselves will select it. The three other members there are 7 members appointed directly by the City Council. The 3 other members represent the Irvine Unified School District, Tustin Unified School District, and Irvine Valley College, with that one at-large member. And then, yes, of course, as well, the more help, the better. And we'll take anyone that wants to be involved and contribute. It's a big operation, a big lift. We're really excited. And so to the extent we can have subcommittees and others engaged, we welcome the involvement.
So I firmly believe many hands make light work. But yeah, just need to clarify who will be picking this member at large. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Treceder.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to follow up on Councilmember Liu's question. I think it is a bit unusual for some of our committees and commissions to have an at-large member in addition to the council member appointed members. And I guess what was the impetus for that?
I think as we were deciding the number of committee members, you obviously want to have an odd number. And, we started with 7, right? 1 for each council member. And then in talking with the existing committees and the existing stakeholders, there were audiences that really needed to have a voice as a voting member on the committee. And so then as we increased that, and then we could have gone to 13, we could have gone to 9 or 7, and we found that 11 at this point was the right number to include those school representatives, and then adding 1 to create an odd number. And with the 7 direct council appointed committee members, it gave us an odd number for voting and taking actions, while giving space for 1 at-large and giving representation for the schools.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense. You want an odd number. Okay, I appreciate that. Thanks.
Anything further? Let me just suggest on that matter, I don't think an odd number or an even number matters. I mean, the idea is to get people who are making a real contribution, who are good in an advisory capacity, get them working together. We leave it to you to tell us if you need more or you'd like to have more, how it's working and so forth. And as the city attorney suggests, amending the bylaws to allow for 2 or 3 additional persons. I can think of so many people who would be so valuable on this. But let's get you started with the adoption of this. Begin to be working together, and then don't hesitate to come back to us and say you'd like to adjust the committee in the following ways and recommend those to us. With that, I'll call again on Councilmember Liu, then we'll turn to the public for comments.
This is a lawyer in me, so I would like to see the rules getting set. So if maybe Mr. Malchin will be better at answering this. So same thing about my question. Currently, I understand that the committees report to community services, which will sometimes be doing some kind of choosing and picking, and it's sort of an addition for certain roles that serve the city. And I do understand that we need an odd number, but can we please have a assignment just to say who will be picking this member at large? I understand existing appointees. Is that can we maybe add that to the bylaws before we move forward? Is that something that can be done now? I don't think that would take too long.
Well, you could offer that if you wish. Why don't we just hold that thought for now? Let's hear from the public, and then let's decide how we want to proceed. Councilmember Treceder, and then let's hear from the public.
Yeah, I was also going to suggest to Councilmember Liu that she issue a motion for that, because I would support that.
All right, well, let's just hold that thought. We'll come to a specific motion shortly. With that, I'll turn to our city clerk to begin to call the public commenters. How many requests do we have?
Thank you, Mayor. We have 2 requests to speak. If I could call forward Wing Chow and Andre Huseman. And we'll start with Mr. Chow.
Welcome.
Health and wellness for all the Irvine residents. That's why I'm going for. My middle name is Han in Chinese, means health. First name Wing means eternal. My parents want me to be eternally healthy. Health and wellness cover basically three major groups in Irvine: the old, the working class, and the young. There's a Chinese saying, I'm going to say in Cantonese, 老唔老以及人之老，幼唔幼以及人之幼. That means care for your own old and care for other people's old. Care for the young and care for other people's young. I'm here, I'm going to concentrate on the one group, the senior. You know, we have an aging population in America. In Irvine, we have over 20% that are over 60 years old. We have done a good job in taking care of senior. Actually, I posted on next door a picture of Lakeview Senior Center. They provide many excellent service, but I want to point out one point. I've been eating at Lakeview Senior Center for the last 7 years. Before the pandemic, the food was excellent. The cook, the chef was glorious. She did an excellent job. She had pork chop, Venice pho, and one time even fe984a54. Wow, wonderful food. But after the pandemic, then they changed to give the food to age well. They prepare outside. The food come in is cold, sandwich. Like today, I couldn't finish. And most of the time, I had to go home to eat again. So I recommend the food at least for here in Lakeview Senior Center to be cooked inside. We to call the chef back, Gloria, to do the cooking. I'm tired of eating outside food, the cold sandwich. I seldom complain, but I'm not complaining. I want to make Irvine better. Mine is a constructive criticism to improve the food quality for the senior. I lost 15 pounds in the last few years eating in Lakeview City Center. You want to lose weight, you got to eat at Lakeview City Center. I just don't have enough to eat. Most of the time, I have to go home and eat again or go to eat at a restaurant. So I recommend it. I know that right now, Age Well managing 13 districts, at least for this district here in Lakeview City Center, I want to have our own cook, cooking warm food, call the former chef back to do the cooking. That's my appeal to the council. Please do it for my sake. You know, I cannot afford to keep on losing weight, keep going hungry, go home and eat and go to a restaurant after eating at Lakeview City Center. Please listen to my plea. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I hope our staff is taking notes. Thank you.
Andre?
Tough to beat. How you guys doing?
Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Andre Huseman. I'm actually a resident here, along with my two beautiful kids and my wife. We lived here just a short period of time. I'm actually from Anaheim, so I'm really like a long way away from home. So I really do love it here. We loved it so much our kids go here. And one of the first things we looked at when deciding as a family where we should go, it's number one for us, it's safety. Number two, it's education. My wife is well educated. She is a psychotherapist. She's had her own business for about 15 years. I actually eat crayons compared to my wife, I have to be honest with you. She's intelligent. I've been an entrepreneur for about 20 years now. I'm actually a boxer by trade. I've been in the health and wellness fitness industry for 20 years. I've seen a lot of things come. Heck, I've seen a lot of things go, that's for sure. But I saw this opportunity sort of come in front of me. I was really excited about it. Not only at this age, but what I got going on at home, I want to get more involved in my city. I want to get more involved with my family. I want to get more involved with the community. I think the law enforcement absolutely does an amazing job. I think our firemen do an amazing job. I'm like just a huge fan. And again, I'm from the other side of the tracks where it takes 20 minutes to get a cop to come to your house. So to see them come right off the bat, right when you make a phone call, it always feels good, that's for sure. But back to this point here, when I saw the opportunity to be here, I'd love to be considered. I've built multiple studios. I've owned multiple studios, boxing studios. I've been in the fitness industry, not only just for 20 years, but I've worked with almost every type of brand in fitness. I made it through the pandemic. My business has made it through the pandemic. I understand fitness at a micro level and on a micro level and at a macro level too as well. I live and breathe fitness. Pretty soon my kids are gonna be done eating chicken nuggets and french fries, and it's steak and eggs for them, that's for sure. I really appreciate your time. I'd love to be considered. My name is Andre Huseman, and I'm here to help. Thank you, appreciate it.
Well, thank you for your comments. They're much appreciated. Is that it?
That is all, Mayor.
All right. Having heard from the public on this matter, I now turn back to my colleagues to ask for further comments or a motion. Anybody wish to be heard? Councilmember Liu?
Also, I guess I'll have to make an alternate motion. Is that what?
Well, you could make a motion.
Yeah.
That's what I would suggest at this time. Why don't you offer a motion? Since we're talking about let's see, this is an ordinance. We have to read the ordinance. So I would suggest you move staff recommendations and introduce the ordinance by reading it. And then to the extent that we want to change things a little bit, we can take amendments that are proposed or whatever. Would you like to make that motion at this time?
Yes, I would like to make the motion to adopt the resolution of the City Council of the City of Irvine, California, dissolving the Irvine Child Care Advisory Committee and the Irvine Children, Youth, and Families Advisory Committee, and adopting the bylaws of the Health and Wellness Advisory Committee of the City of Irvine with the addition.
Why don't you hold on that? I'm just wondering if we should, well, I guess you could do that now. Why don't you do that now, but then I'd like to get the first reading of the ordinance introduced as well as part of the motion. Can we do that, or should we do it as a separate motion?
Would this also meet Brown Act publication?
So a couple questions there. Yes, we can do it as a combined motion. I want you to both understand that the question of committee membership and the at-large member appears in both the ordinance and the bylaws, which are adopted by resolution.
All right.
To your question, Councilmember Liu, there's no concern with the Brown Act. This is properly agendized, and if you make a modification and the council agrees to it, then we are in a good place.
Mm-hmm. So why don't you continue? You offered the resolution. I think this will be easiest if she just gets the resolution on board and the introduction of the ordinance, then we can talk about modifying the motion a little bit with an amendment.
Would you like me to reread it from the
No, you did. I interrupted you. You made the motion on the resolution, but now you need to combine with it, if you would, introducing the ordinance, and you have to read it.
Yes, so I will go back to that and introduce for the first reading and read by title only an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Irvine, California, adding Division 8, Title 3 of the Irvine Municipal Code, establishing a Health and Wellness Advisory Committee. And then do I need to?
You don't need to do it again. The resolution is part of your motion now. And I'll second it. And now it's properly before us and we can entertain discussion. Did you want to speak about the modification you'd like to see first?
Yes.
Then I'll turn to Councilmember Treseder.
Yes, so I would like to add to the bylaws to clarify who will be choosing. So let's see, let me go back to that. I'm sorry about that. Let's go down to bylaw. I believe it's under, it's 2.1.12, where it says one member at large shall be selected through a public recruitment to serve a term lasting no more than 2 years. I would like to add chosen by the, well, I guess in this case, if they do no longer report to Community Services Commission, it will be City Council. Correct. In that case.
Correct.
So chosen by City Council.
So if I could just say that back to you, Councilmember Liu.
Yes, please.
You'd take section 2.1.2, and after the word selected, you would add by City Council. So it would read as revised, one member at large shall be selected by City Council through a public recruitment process to serve a term lasting no more than 2 years.
Yes.
All right, and that'll be incorporated in both the resolution and the ordinance as moved. That will be deemed to be included in your motion. Very well. I guess that's with my assent. I am happy to second that as well. So I think we're in proper procedural position now, are we not, Mr. Melchi?
You are, Mayor. And just for perfect clarity in the record, I've lost the ordinance provision. I apologize.
The ordinance section has to be adjusted.
Yeah, we'll make the words are identical in the ordinance. We'll make the identical change to the identical provision in the ordinance.
Excellent. Yeah. All right. It's properly in front of us. I'll turn to Councilmember Treseder at this point.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just wanted to make sure that Councilmember Liu was able to include the amendment in her motion. And I very much support that. I think it's very important to have it be very clear who is picking the at-large recruitment. Thanks.
Let me just ask in that connection, how do we do that so that we don't bog down this process? We get these selections made quickly.
Assuming this is all adopted and approved, the ordinance would come back at our next meeting in March for then, if it is ratified on second reading, all of the regulations would go into place in April. In between now and then, what we would do, if this were approved on first reading tonight with the resolution, is work with the council to identify each of your appointees to the committee. We'd also reach out to IUSD, Tustin, US Unified School District, and Irvine Valley College to identify their representatives. And then at some point in that process, we'd start a recruitment to identify that final at-large member. And before the start of the committee, we'd bring the selection to the council for consideration.
So let me ask you, if we indicate, we publicize that we're looking for an at-large member, we're taking applications, to whom do those applications come? Do they come to you, Brian, and you, Heather? Do they come to you, Oliver?
I think it'd start with Brian and Heather. Likely, I'm thinking of the administrative process. We'd consult with the appointed committee members and probably give them a chance, I would assume, to review the applications and provide the council with some feedback. And then ultimately, the council would make the decision.
All right. That sounds like a sensible process. So if 25 applications came in, you would kind of go through them. You would, among yourselves, interviews 5 or 10 of them or whatever, and you'd bring recommendations to us.
Yeah, and I think with the process of having council members, having appointed committee members, and also our educational partners having folks, we'd ask the established committee members to also, provide some input.
Good.
All of which would get packaged ultimately for the council to review.
I have a suspicion what may happen is we find not only one at-large person, but gosh, maybe we should have 3. If that's your recommendation, I'm open to it. The idea is to get good people recruited, get them working, and get this process really moving. I'm supportive of the motion. With that, Council Member and Vice Mayor Mai.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to add some context as well. I was an at-large member of one of these committees, and the process was pretty interesting because there's a pool of candidates, and at one point there was 10 candidates, and we all had to interview, and we were vetted just like a job application, and it was pretty grueling and intense. So if you keep that level of vetting, I'm for this as well. So it was definitely an interesting. They wanted to make sure I was a good parent, and it went well. So I think keep those standards and let's go.
Well, if they chose you, it was definitely a good process, right? Thank you. Any other requests, comments from my colleagues? There being none, Carl, do you have the motion squared away? We won't ask you to repeat it, all right? With that, why don't you call the roll?
Councilmember Go.
Yes.
Councilmember Liu.
Yes.
Councilmember Treseder.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mai.
Yes.
And Mayor Agron.
Yes.
Carries 5-0 of the members present.
Thank you all, and thank you to our staff for the outstanding work you're doing. Onward. Thanks. Now we come to the final item on the agenda, item 4.4. Would the clerk please identify this item by title?
Consideration of a request by Vice Mayor Mai to develop a grand 4th of July celebration event.
Very well. With that, those wishing to participate via Zoom should at this point raise their hand electronically and enter the speaker queue. And at this time, I'll turn to Councilmember Mai. Thank you for introducing this, and I assume you want to make a brief presentation.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna talk a little bit before reading the memo itself. Just a little bit. I grew up in the Midwest, and July 4th was celebrated by all. You know, I had memories of dressing up in red, white, and blue, and going on a giant lawn and getting ready for fireworks, watching the fireworks, worried that they would fall on my head. Sometimes they did, because we're in Ohio, and that's how they did fireworks there. But I moved to Irvine. I've been in Irvine for 26 years, and I always wondered why we never had a united citywide celebration. Given the division and perceived division that we have in this nation now, I think the time is appropriate to introduce this. I'm going to read this here, and I'm going to add some clarification as well to it. As a proud member of the Irvine community, I believe we should come together to celebrate the United States of America and for all our nation represents. Irvine is more than just a city in the United States. Our story is a testament to the American dream, where people from all backgrounds come together, uniting to create a truly special place. That's why I'm calling for July 4th, 2025, to be the inaugural Irvine citywide July 4th Independence Day celebration. An event that will bring our entire community together and serve as a lasting tradition for years to come. Currently, while many homeowners associations organize wonderful local events, there is no single unifying celebration hosted by the city to honor our nation's Independence Day. It's time for Irvine to come together as one community and establish an annual tradition that bonds us all together in the spirit of freedom and patriotism. To mark this historic first celebration, I'm requesting that the City Council direct and authorize City Manager to develop a comprehensive plan for an official city-sponsored July 4th event, which could include a citywide parade featuring floats, local high school marching bands, and community organizations, live music and entertainment for all ages, a variety of food options with a focus on barbecue, all types of barbecues, possibly including a barbecue cook-off competition, a fireworks display to cap off the night and commemorate this new tradition in spectacular fashion. This event can partially be funded through contributions and sponsorships from local businesses and community partners, ensuring a successful inaugural celebration in 2025 and setting the stage for an annual event that future generations will look forward to celebrating. I want to add some clarification to this, as the public has spoken, and I welcome all comments, and I want to address some of them. I want to further clarify, this isn't a replacement of any celebrations that are existing on the HOAs there. Other than that, I would like to have the staff work with the HOAs that are existing and coordinate with them. Also, we currently have fireworks in the city of Irvine at Pacific Symphony. I would like the staff to work with Pacific Symphony and the organizers of that to augment and improve on what we're currently doing. In no way this is a replacement for what's going on. Instead, it should be a combination, and it should be celebrated throughout the city. We are all Americans, and I believe that we love this country for all her greatness and her flaws. Regardless of where we're from, our social status, race, religion, political preference, we can all say that we are proud Americans and we're proud of this country, and we should celebrate it. With that, I'm going to motion, and I'm going to ask for my colleagues to support me in motioning, in approving this motion.
Very well. Did you want to hold off and put in a motion in front of us?
Yeah, before comments.
After we've heard some comment. Good. First, I'll turn to my colleagues here. Any questions or preliminary comments that you might have, or should we turn to the public directly at this time? I see no requests to be heard, so City Clerk Carl Peterson, what do we have in store for us by way of public comment?
Thank you, Mayor. We have 11 requests to speak.
11 requests. So let's set the time at 2 minutes each. And how many of those are online, and how many are present here?
We have 6 in person and 5 via Zoom.
All right. Well, why don't we start with the in-person comments first, and why don't you call them forward?
Thank you, Mayor. If I could call forward Doug Elliott, Susan Sayer, Ron Skolsdang, Andre Huseman, Alan Meyerson, and Kiro Awad. And we'll start with Mr. Elliott.
Thank you, and
welcome, Mr. Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening once again. I'm Doug Elliott, again, a Community Services Commissioner, speaking only for myself. Thanks to the Vice Mayor for introducing this topic, which I think is worthy of discussion, and for clarifying some of the concerns that I expressed in Irvine Watchdog yesterday. And I'm not going to repeat everything I said there, but I did want to say that my work on the commission has made me aware of how hard the community services staff works and how much they have on their plates. I'd hate to see them overly burdened by a rush to implement something that's big in the next 4 months. And also, of course, a large public event is taxing to our police department and other departments. With that in mind, I realize today that July 4th, 2026 will be the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration. There is already a federal commission in place to commemorate that event. And I think the timing might be better for Irvine to align itself with that effort and plan for the big deal next year, which gives staff a chance to really put it all together and do something not just for one day, but to celebrate the Declaration for the entire year. Some of us are old enough to remember the bicentennial in 1976, and that's exactly what happened then. So let's do that again. And for this year, I'd like to just do something that's within the scope of practicality without the necessity of corporate sponsors. Let's just keep it simple and patriotic. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Susan Sayer.
Welcome.
Hi, good afternoon. My name's Susan Sayer, and I'm a longtime Irvine resident. Over the years, I've traveled the world working as a Peace Corps volunteer and as a delegate to international human rights conferences. I always loved coming home to the U.S., where people's health and safety were supported and residents were given basic human rights. Sadly, conditions here in the U.S. have changed. I love and honor the democratic United States that once was. I do not honor the current United States that has become a part of a fascist, racist, sexist, and classist international political and economic movement that appears to be designed to support the world's mega billionaires and to deny support of the health and welfare of the people and the earth, not only in the U.S., but throughout the world. We already have 2 fireworks shows in Irvine. I do not support Vice Mayor's request for Irvine to put on a costly grand July 4th celebration at taxpayers' expense, because the event would be honoring the United States, which is currently tearing apart our Constitution and which has sunk to the point of being more evil and corrupt than ever before. Instead of the grand July 4th celebration, I propose that the city of Irvine create a celebration for all those who come to City Hall to voice their support for recovery of the United States democratic process, which guarantees residents their democratic, civil, and human rights, which supports the health and safety of all residents, and which supports the earth and its environment. As a democracy is nonpartisan, it is time for us, Republicans, Democrats, and third parties alike, to unite and work together to make America truly great again,
Your time is
perhaps even better than before. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sayre.
Ron Skolsdane.
Welcome.
Thanks. Hi, Council. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me tonight. Ron Skolsdane, proud Irvine resident. When I heard word that we may be proposing a city-led 4th of July celebration, I was 2 things. One, I was super stoked because I love my city, love my community, love my country, just love everything that I have in my life. I'm very grateful. But the second thing was a little bit of shock. I was actually shocked that Irvine has not led a 4th of July celebration yet. You know, as a city that tends to set the precedent for other cities in our country to follow, I think it would be a great way for us to lead yet another initiative and have a citywide celebration for 4th of July. As a kid, I was excited to meet up with my friends, family, cousins, neighbors, and go sit on a curb before anybody else woke up with a little wagon, then a little spinner thingy in the air that makes it spin, and wait for a parade to come by. And just be stoked even for like a marching band, a football team, a local business. And I want to create those same memories here in Irvine, not in another neighboring city. I literally want everything to be done within our city, and I would love a 4th of July celebration. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Andre Huseman.
Good evening again. I live over in the West Park community, and since we've been here, again, just a few short years, it's been a really fun time for 4th of July, so I'm in favor of this movement. The greatest part about this is wake up in the morning, kids are ready to rock and roll, the mayor's in this classic, going around the town, everybody's just kind of walking along, having a good time. We end up at West Park, the actual park there. You know, there's games, there's sort of these jump houses, there's foods, there's tickets, kids are running around. I don't know where the heck my kids are at. They got the ID bracelets on, and I'm chasing them the whole time. It's water balloon fights. It's just an incredible vibe. And for me, I want that for my future kids, my grandkids, and things like that too. So what that feels like for me in just my community, I couldn't even imagine what that would feel like for the whole city of Irvine. I'd love for everybody to experience that. Despite the cost, whatever, it doesn't matter. What matters is people feel good. People feel good about their country. They're getting involved. Their kids are having a great time. And there's nothing like watching your kid smile after throwing a water balloon and dunking you in a tank. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for your comments.
Alan Meyerson.
Good evening again, Council Members. Alan Meyerson. I grew up in West Los Angeles. I don't remember the city doing anything. There was always little fireworks shows kind of scattered out all over the place. And I worked for the phone company 15 years, and I would work on 4th of July because I got double time and a half. But I worked at the building at Red Hill in Edinger and on the third floor actually. And during the 4th of July, I would go out on the balcony and I could see the fireworks all over the county. It was an amazing sight. The air was horrendous and terrible. So I agree with Mr. Elliott. I think that the first time should be the 250th anniversary in 2026. That gives the city a lot of time to plan. I'm not sure where this celebration would be. I don't know if it would be in the Great Park or be here. You're talking about a lot of people in a small area. The logistics of that may be very difficult to deal with. That's one thing. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is because of the air, what happens to the air quality during the 4th of July, I would sincerely request the city, when they look into this, look into a drone show instead of fireworks. The technology for drones has become amazing, and they can do some incredible things with them. So I would hope that the city would look into that instead of the fireworks. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Mr. Awad?
Good evening. My name is Kiro Awad, and I'm a Marine Corps veteran and a proud immigrant and a real estate agent here in Irvine alongside my wife, who is also an immigrant. My family and my wife's family, individuals from 2 different parts of the world, came to this country because they knew that America is the greatest country in the world. They came seeking the very freedom and opportunities that define America. For me, growing up as an immigrant in an immigrant family, we celebrated the 4th of July, the birthday of America, because we understood what this day represents: freedom, sacrifice, and the incredible opportunity that America provides to all who call it home. Men and women have risked their lives, and many have made the ultimate sacrifice to defend the ideals of what this country represents. Independence Day is not just a date on the calendar. It's a reminder of those sacrifices and the celebration of what makes America the greatest country in the world. America is not perfect, but no nation is. What makes this country exceptional is that it allows us the freedom to improve, to grow, and to strive for a better future. That is why we celebrate the 4th of July in this country. That is why the city of Irvine should embrace the 4th of July, not just as a holiday, but as a tribute to the freedoms we enjoy and the sacrifices made to secure them. Let's not take this country for granted. Let's celebrate her, honor her, and ensure that the next generation understands the value of the freedom we hold so dear. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your comments with us.
Our next speaker is telephone number 360. 360, you may unmute your mic.
Thank you very much. Out of the gate, I'd like to commend Vice Mayor James Mai for putting this July 4th celebration on the agenda. As many of you know, and for some who may not know, this event signifies the separation of America from Britain. This is especially significant for me and my forefathers, especially since, as an Irish American, we experienced the genocide of 1 million people through starvation and even discrimination when we came here to America en masse in the 1850s. However, the U.S. flag represents liberty and self-governance and asserts that all men are created equal, a proclamation that still stands today and does not exist in many countries around the world. I wholeheartedly endorse a July 4th celebration, and I endorse those on the council who support America and the blessings we have earned and our existence of being the best country on earth. Not perfect, but the best country on earth. If you vote for this celebration, you vote for America, and your love of America will be recorded. To be clear, if you don't vote for this celebration, the decisiveness in America will continue. This is not partisan politics. This is a great country. We're all living it together, and it's a celebration of unity. I wholeheartedly endorse and support this July 4th celebration. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Our next speaker is Eric Nishanian. Mr. Nishanian, you may unmute your mic.
Thank you, council members, Mayor Agron. This proposal appears rushed, and it also appears to be easy pay for first responders and our Irvine Police. The Irvine Police Association endorsed James Mai. They also donated to him. You can look at his Form 460s between September of 2024 and October of 2024. And, I haven't heard anything about cost, but, how many fireworks shows do we need in Irvine on 4th of July? Certainly, I agree with Alan Meyerson and Doug Elliott, and Doug Elliott's article is very impactful, that at the very least, this should be delayed a year to allow the Finance Commission and the Community Services Commission to look it over. Where is it going to be? How much is it going to cost? What kind of pressure does it put on the city? And how is it going to affect the homeowners associations and all the little celebrations that occur in the village? If James Nye wants to see fireworks, this is Orange County. You can see fireworks every night. Just drive up the 5 freeway, 9 o'clock, pull your car over on the freeway, and you can sit out there and you can watch the fireworks show. All of a sudden, the Republicans are about law and order in the country? Come on, guys. What is this? You're trying to troll citizens to say that they're un-American if they're not with this proposal and make James Nye look like he's an American, he's a great American? James Nye doesn't appreciate the history of the city, he doesn't appreciate the history of the villages, and he's trying to make it look like he's doing something for the good of the city. This isn't for the good of the city, it's for the good of him. Just like handing out free food once a month with his foundation that's not licensed in any city. You know, I don't understand how that's going on, but he's got a foundation that's not licensed in any city. It's in Tustin, but it's not licensed. I mean, what are you guys doing? You're promoting stuff that doesn't make any sense for the city, for how the city works, on a rushed basis. And it looks like it's a payoff for
your time is up.
The police association. Thank you.
Next.
Our next speaker is Adriana M. Adriana, you may unmute your mic.
Yes. I grew up in Irvine, and I'm sad that there weren't parades when I grew up here, and I've wondered why there aren't parades here now. I've lived in cities where there are more parades and activity on the streets that bring out children, families, elders, etc. I would not be opposed to a 4th of July parade or a gay pride parade during Pride Month or even a Lunar New Year parade. Why limit it to July 4th? Let's reclaim some of these streets from speeding cars and cultivate a sense of community through several neighborhoods. Regarding fireworks, I don't think we necessarily need more fireworks, which pollute, scare animals, and aggravate people with PTSD, but parades could be fun. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next.
Our next speaker is Jeremy. Jeremy, you may unmute your mic.
Yeah, hi there. I'm Jeremy Ficarola. I'm not entirely in support of this item for a couple of reasons. A lot of them already stated, but this does seem pretty rushed. Irvine has a huge population. This is not like a small town USA. There's going to be a lot of logistics, and you know, even Ciclo Irvine had a lot more time to prepare for that, and that's a somewhat smaller event considering or compared to what's being proposed, or at least what it seems like being proposed. I also worry about the corporate nature of this. A lot of times these events, you get a lot of businesses and corporate sponsors, and it kind of intermingles a lot with the interests of council members, and you know, there might be preferred, I don't know, sponsors or businesses among certain council members, and I don't know, that gets a little bit messy. The other issue, definitely, we have 2 fireworks shows. One is at the Great Park with the Pacific Symphony. They did the first one, I believe. Well, no, they've been doing it. It was at the Great Park Amphitheater, the Temper one, the Five Point Amphitheater, and then now it's at the Temper Amphitheater. So that's a fireworks show. You actually don't need to pay price of admission to see it. You could technically go to like the parking lot area or the outside area to see it. And then Woodbridge has a fireworks show. So I think something like a drone show would actually be very interesting, and it's also environmentally friendly and also shows Irvine's leadership and technology. But I just think a 4th of July celebration coming up this year would be a little bit premature. And I don't often say this, but I think Eric Deshanian is right in his previous comments. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Our next speaker is Jay. Jay, you may unmute your mic.
Fellow council members, I think on paper this event sounds cool, although I would definitely hold my enthusiasm of this for such a large-scale celebration before a budget adjustment might occur, because I really doubt that this could occur without a budget adjustment. I mean, I used to spend the 4th of July watching the fireworks at Irvine High School, and they stopped doing that for some reason since COVID. So I think there is a need there for something like that at a very hyper-local level. I would really mirror Doug Elliott's comments. This isn't something that we should use to take away from city staff focusing on some more pressing issues, especially given that there are some elements of city resources that are not being spent the most effectively, like with programs like transit. I would also like to comment on the high school marching band's part of this. As a member of my high school marching band, I'd love to put on my uniform and be part of this event, but I'd say that this is in the middle of summer break, so I think we'd have to get into some sort of special agreement with all the high school bands to get them to reorganize. So if we are going to move forward with this, I'd want that to be organized sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Harvey Liss. Harvey, you may unmute your mic. You have 90 seconds.
Hi, I'm Harvey Liss, a resident of Woodbridge since 1976. First, I want to say that any good deed can be made suspect with an ulterior motive. That's my comment about a previous commenter. Jeremy mentioned Woodbridge's fireworks display. Woodbridge has had a fireworks display for many years. I can't imagine any fireworks display being any more elaborate. It's 20 minutes long, and I guess you could make it more elaborate by having an atomic bomb explosion. But why not just expand Woodbridge's display, invite more people? When I go there, we're in a small area, and I see it's very dense. And I think there are lots of people that view it. The fireworks is set off at a very safe location, a 500-foot by 500-foot retention pond. And certainly to redo this whole operation, I think by this coming July, I think is way too soon. But let's just expand the Woodbridge one, and then the city can contribute to some of the funding. I'm sure that fireworks display has got to be expensive. I don't know, 30,000, maybe more. Thank you. Oh, there's a parade as well we hold in Barranca Parkway. Expand the parade. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Our next speaker is Don Geller. Mr. Geller, you may unmute your mic. You have 90 seconds.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Don Geller. I'm the Chair of the Finance Commission. I am just speaking for myself, but as Chair of the Finance Commission, I would encourage something like this go through the Finance Commission. We just allocated almost $250,000 for the Ciclo Irvine event. And I would think that something like this would be double. It could be $500,000 if it's going to be an event that's bigger than the Ciclo Irvine. I think there might be a chance that you can consider combining or maybe making alternate years between a Ciclo Irvine event, which is coming up in May. I mean, this would just be 2 months later than the Ciclo Irvine event. And maybe make it every other year. If we do Ciclo Irvine this year, maybe we can do a citywide 4th of July event in 2026. That would correspond with Mr. Elliott's comments on making it a grand event. We can use the money for Ciclo Irvine for a parade. I also believe that the Vice Mayor has very honorable intentions with
Thank you
this.
for your comment. Your time is up.
All right.
Thank you for your comments.
And that is all, Mayor.
Having heard the public comments, I turn back to my colleagues now. Councilmember and Vice Mayor Mai, did you wish to offer a motion at this time, or do you want to hear more from your colleagues and then offer a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment and then also hear from my colleagues first, and then I'll make a motion.
Okay, then I'll turn to Councilmember Liu first, and then Councilmember Treseder.
Okay. Well, after hearing all the comments, I realize I'm not too far off. Again, as an immigrant, I appreciate this country. I think this is one of the greatest places, and this is why my family moved us here. And generally, I am in support of any community gathering, especially to celebrate the 4th of July, which is obviously the best thing that we've done as a country to become independent from a king and be a democracy. And I remember when we moved to Irvine, Irvine used to have a all-city-wide celebration held by the IPD, and I believe a few years ago, when they stopped doing it, it was when they realized they could bring in as much funds or raise as much funds without all the expenses and the liabilities. And I remember very vividly that I took my kids, and we used to go to the community park and watch fireworks with friends and neighbors, and that was the community that we enjoyed, the community activity. But I remember the last time we went to the actual show was when the first firework actually burned into the fire, and burned into the tree, and we all had to run. So that could have been the last one. I'm not quite sure about that, but that, I've been here a while, so all my days are mixed up. Anyway, there are other local villages that already have community celebrations, so I was wondering if this will be a redundant event, but also the concern is about cost, considering that we have limited resources, and just like Mr. Elliott had mentioned, that community services staff are already very, very much busy with lots of resident services. So I have a list of questions. I will love to see something like this, and I do think this year, being 4 months away from 4th of July, we're probably not going to have the right preparation or proper preparation for this. So I have a list of questions I would like to pose. And so the first one will be the overall estimate for the cost of the city, and estimate sponsorship amount, just like what we're talking about with CICLO. We had budgeted a certain amount, but with about maybe 2/3 of it, if my memory serves me right, from serving on Finance Commission, I believe 2/3 of the budget would have been supported in sponsorship, but there's also concerns about corporate sponsorship, which I did not anticipate that, but thank you for bringing that up. And the other thing is the parade route, the traffic impact, the opportunity costs, the duration of restricted traffic, parking issues. Third thing is public safety, medical support, emergency responses, evacuation plan. We need to work with public safety, with IPD and OCFA. And fourth is environmentally friendly and pet-friendly alternatives to fireworks. A lot of commenters already mentioned drones with laser shows, like a lot of other cities or other countries that I've seen have done. The fifth one is about human resources, the possibility of cooperation from local organizations, nonprofits, or things like that to offer volunteers to man these kind of events. And the sixth one is the food safety. So we'll have to work with OC health departments to notify them first and do inspections on site. And then obviously for big events like this, we're talking about porta potties and hand wash stations, and so we'll need to worry about the cost and the permits. And the eighth one is about vendor selections. Do we do open bids for vendors, and what's the timeline, what are the rules, and what are the insurance requirements? And the ninth one will be performance selections. The high school bands, like the commenter said, are not available in summer, most likely. And so do we do open auditions, open it up to everybody? And again, we're talking about insurance issues on the performers. And last one is the cook-off. Are we going to expand it to be more inclusive in recognition of our diverse population and also accommodate residents with restrictive diets? I am all for an all-Americana event, but with all these questions answered, I will be in support of this.
Thank you for your comments, Councilmember Treseder.
Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate this idea. I think it's lovely. I think that done well, and as we're envisioning it, it could be a really nice chance for the community to get together, very wholesome. I was very interested in Mr. Meyerson's suggestion of having a drone show instead of fireworks. I think there's a lot of reasons to advocate for that. There's the fire safety issue, but also, we're the city of innovation. And there's a gazillion other fireworks shows around the county. And in fact, I do the same thing that Mr. Meyerson was talking about. Take our family up to the hill and we watch all of them. But I don't know too many drone shows. And I think that that would really be exciting for people. If the vice mayor were willing to consider that, I'd be very enthusiastic about this. I do also want to mention that the timeline is pretty accelerated, and you would think it would be enough time, but just after we started working with Ciclo Irvine, I realized just how much lead time is required for these things. But I'm hoping that we could get something done this year, and I would, be interested in hearing the vice mayor's take on that, and also I'd be interested in hearing from the staff what might be feasible for this year, but I'd like to have something on the calendar, and then maybe next year, as Mr. Elliott proposed, having a really big celebration to celebrate the 250th year. I think that would be really great too. So thank you very much to the Vice Mayor for agendizing this.
Thank you, Councilmember Treseder. Councilmember Go.
Really appreciate all the comments, hearing all the various things. I do love this country. I love a parade, and most importantly, I love bikes. And the idea of, combining a Ciclo Irvine and a parade, some form of it, I think makes a lot of sense. If we can get the finances down to an acceptable level for something like this, I'm always in favor of the community coming together and celebrating together. So I'd love to hear more of how we can get this done in an economical fashion.
Thank you, Councilmember Go. The Councilmember and Vice Mayor Mai.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, my colleagues, for your comments and questions. First, to address Councilmember Melinda Liu's questions, there was quite a few questions there about food quality and many other different items. I believe those are more suitable for staff to address. I'm not an event planner or food vendor type of guy, so I'll let the staff address those at a proper time. It seems like those are issues that would be addressed after the fact. In regards to corporate sponsorships, I'm pro-business. I'm not gonna say, hey, this corporate sponsor can't sponsor. The idea is to get advertisement, sponsorship dollars from everyone. Small businesses, large businesses, it could be a bake shop, it could be a startup, it could be a technology company, it could be a large company, small company. If you want to sponsor, you're more than welcome to. Our goal as a city is to drive business to the city, at the same time allow businesses of all sizes to advertise within a parade, or if they want to be a sponsor on a flyer, that's great. You can advertise your business. I'm not going to limit you just because you're a quote-unquote corporate sponsor. And also, lastly, again, the thought that we're in a rush is really new to me. I'm in no rush. I'm usually in a rush on things, but I'm not in a rush for this. When I first proposed this and I first talked to the city, I said, I have this idea, and can you guys deliver this? And I spoke to city manager. I said, are you sure you can deliver it by this year? And I don't know how fast the staff can operate or work, but I have confidence in what they can do. And if they say they can do it, then they can do it. But if not, then it's up to you. And I want, actually, city manager to speak on that. What are the capabilities of you delivering it this year at a scaled down level and go to next year at a bigger level? But it's really up to your capabilities. I mean, no one's really pushing you to really get this thing at a grand scale within a couple months. I mean, that's not the intent of what we want here.
Councilmember Mai, I'm just going to interrupt you for a moment. I've been informed that our broadcast has been interrupted.
Oh.
And to the extent that people are participating at home, we don't want to lose them, it was suggested to me that if we were to call a very brief recess, maybe just 5 minutes, we might be able to put this back together. In any event, we'll reconvene in 5 minutes, and you can resume your presentation, okay?
Sounds good, thank you.
With that, we'll take a 5-minute recess. Is that enough? 5-minute recess to see if we can repair things. See you in 5 minutes. We apologize for the interruption, the need to take a recess. Somehow our broadcast was, our cable cast was interrupted, and it has been repaired so that we're once again reconnected with our friends and fans at home, and that gives us the opportunity to resume the council meeting, item 4.4, which Council Member and Vice Mayor James Mai was introducing, presenting. Just for the record, it's 8:45, and why don't you once again, Mr. Peterson, why don't you just recite the title of this particular item, and then we'll go over to Councilmember Mai.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 4.4 is consideration of a request by Vice Mayor Mai to develop a grand 4th of July celebration event.
Very well. You were interrupted, Council Member and Vice Mayor, and I want to give you the floor once again and take what time you need to further this item. All right?
Thank you, Mayor Agron. I was in the middle of talking about my respect to the city staff's time and effort toward this. And when I originally proposed this, I was also questioning if this was to be able to be delivered this year as well. And I wanted the city manager to talk about that, a little bit about where they're at, their capabilities, to deliver a lot of the things that are proposed here. A few questions that were asked from the dais as well. And then also in consideration, I mean, for what Council Member Treseder spoke about, potentially a drone show instead of a traditional fireworks show, which is actually something very interesting because we are the city of innovation. That may be something to consider if it's within cost considerations as to a traditional. I have no context in terms of the cost. That would be something to explore as well. City Manager, if you can indulge us and tell us a little bit about our conversation and where you feel that the staff capability could be either delivering it this year or next year. As I mentioned, I was very sensitive to your staff's ability and capability to deliver, and there's no rush at all. So I don't want you guys to feel that you need to get this done this year, but you told me you could. So
certainly
love to hear from you.
No, Vice Mayor Mai, happy to provide some context from the staff on our thoughts about this item. As you and I discussed when this item was first being proposed, we can certainly get something scaled appropriately for this year. It certainly wouldn't, with 4 months of planning as we described, likely what we'd be looking to do is take advantage of existing opportunities and see if we can't build upon them to meet the council's objective if the council gave us authorization and direction to move forward with planning a 4th of July event. So some of the things we've talked about internally are really ideas that the council and members of the community described already. For the parade component, is it possible to maybe build on an existing parade? Woodbridge has one. If the council says move forward, perhaps we make a call and see, can you expand there? Could you do something maybe scaled down at the Great Park, potentially? Parade along the timeline during the day. festival booths, event space throughout the day. At the Great Park, we've talked about, in terms of a fireworks show, is it feasible to partner with the Pacific Symphony, as was discussed earlier tonight? Certainly it is something that could be done to do a scaled up version. We observed last year that as part of the Pacific Symphony's 4th of July show, a lot of folks who either didn't have the opportunity or weren't able to purchase a ticket to get into the event showed up at the Great Park just to watch fireworks. Could we do an expanded version of that tied to an event at the park? All of that is feasible. Ultimately, what we're hoping to do is get some direction from the council this evening and authorization to move forward. And if that was the direction we received, we'd package everything together into a concept, get the budget stuff all worked out. We think it could be done fairly cost effectively, and ultimately come back to tell council, here's how it would all move forward. Regarding the suggestion that Councilmember Treseder had, it's just a lovely idea to think about the drone concept. It's actually something our team has a lot of experience, I shouldn't say a lot of experience, but experience with. To celebrate the city's 50th birthday, we coordinated a party in the park, where as part of that party we had both fireworks and a drone show, all of which is imminently doable. And really we just need to do a little bit of work to figure out the coordination, timing, costs. We could do all that fairly quickly and be ready to have something put together, I think, that everyone could be proud of this year if the council gave us that authorization. Then ultimately, as we think about next year, we obviously would have a little bit more time to incorporate something slightly larger. So hopefully that provides a little context for the council as it relates to the capabilities at the staff level. We just have a tremendous special events team, our comms and engagement and community services team have already started thinking about how we might be able to deliver on something that makes sense and that everyone could take a lot of pride on, on the 4th of July if the council gives us that direction tonight.
Thank you so much for that, City Manager. With that, if there's any other questions from my colleagues or comments, I would welcome them at this time. Anyone?
I don't see any requests. I think what the city manager just offered really incorporates the elements of a motion to give direction to staff to look into a number of possibilities. I will just say it occurs to me that we already have in place all the elements for building a successful tradition here of a grand 4th of July, as you refer to it, that could be and should be centered at the Great Park. It's the only area, in my view, that could accommodate really something quite large or something that grows to be quite large. But remember, 4th of July is Independence Day. It includes all kinds of things that are going on here in Irvine already, including the Woodbridge 4th of July parade, which is, as I recall, early in the day. And other things are going on in the city, and certainly other things would be going on at the Great Park. So if you were to just offer a motion, I would like to see staff coming back with its thoughts. I would say within 30 days, some preliminary thoughts.
Okay.
So
Sure. I would like.
Would you like to frame a motion?
Yes, sure.
Okay.
I would like to make a motion for staff, for City Council to direct staff to develop a plan of action, formulate a plan of action with consideration to the fiscal, the budget, to logistics within 30 days to develop a grand 4th of July celebration event.
I'll second that. And I'll call on Councilmember Liu at this time.
Just a quick comment about this. I thought that was a great idea to maybe just, expand on something that's already in existence for this year rather than, try to do something this big this year and then maybe push the bigger event until next year. I think we should consider that if you will be willing to entertain this idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to the staff on what their capabilities are. So I think, city manager, you'll incorporate that into your consideration of development of the plan. As Mayor Agren's mentioned, that we have the elements of the 4th of July. It's just putting them together or augmenting or including them into a bigger picture, a bigger plan. So, city manager, are you agreeable upon that in terms of keeping that in consideration?
Certainly, absolutely. I think that's reflective of the conversation we've had, and we can certainly accommodate.
And I think implied in the motion is staff investigation and responses to the various questions, concerns that were raised, and so forth. Obviously, being attentive to costs and come back with what I would call a preliminary plan. I think the reference was a plan here, but again, implied is kind of preliminary thinking. You would come back to us with that, is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
And we'll take a closer look at that time. Let's see. That would be the March 25th meeting?
Correct.
All right. I'm supportive of the motion with those understandings. And I don't know if my colleagues or others were at the 4th of July concert this last summer, but it was terrific, a terrific concert, and the fireworks were not within the confines of the Great Park Live campus there, but were outside and were quite spectacular. And I'm just trying to recall, there was a drone show out there, wasn't there not, at the Great Park? When was that? I remember definitely seeing it.
It was part of the city's 50th birthday party, the Party in the Park. We did a fireworks and drone
That's
show.
it. You mentioned that, Party in the Park. I didn't realize that was the 50th. That was very impressive for somebody who'd never seen a drone show before. Wow. I was really kind of amazed. So you might take a look at all of that as well. I think the motion encompasses all those things. Anything further from my colleagues? Did you want to maybe repeat the motion, Carl? We'll just take a vote on it.
Happy to do so, or I'm also happy to defer to the maker, either way. But I'm happy to do it.
I have a feeling if we go to you first, it's going to work out well.
I'll do my best. So the motion is to direct staff to develop a preliminary plan of action considering a fiscal budget and the logistics for a grand 4th of July event and return within 30 days.
Sounds good to me. Shall we take a vote? All right, please call the roll.
Councilmember Go.
Yes.
Councilmember Liu.
Yes.
Councilmember Treceder.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Mai.
Yes.
And Mayor Agren.
Yes.
Carries 5-0, the members present.
Excellent. We're on our way then, and we'll see this back at the March 25th meeting. And with that, we've concluded the agenda for tonight's meeting. I'll be happy to entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, seconded by Councilmember Liu. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The meeting's adjourned.